Buffalo Fanatics, what's going on? This is Pierre the Kingpin, and I wanted to talk to you today about Cigars International, which is the ultimate destination for premium homemade cigars. Known as the industry leader, Cigars International offers the largest selection, unbeatable prices, and a customer service experience that's second to none. Whether you're new to cigars or a seasoned vet, Cigars International makes enjoying cigars easy, approachable, and fun. Cigars International is the go-to retailer for all things cigars, with the biggest selection of premium homemade cigars available anywhere. Cigars International offers unbeatable deals and discounts, making it easy to stock up on your favorite or try something new without breaking the bank. With fast free shipping and their 100% satisfaction guarantee, you can shop with confidence knowing that Cigars International stands behind every order. They have good relationship with vendors that helps provide great low prices. Whether you're new to cigars or a seasoned pro, Cigars International makes it easy to find the right cigar with helpful guides, staff reviews, and expert advice. It's not just about cigars. Cigars International also offers a wide range of accessories and more to elevate your smoking experience. Check out the great deals every day at cigarsinternational.com. That's cigars, CIGARS, international.com. Use code FANATICS at checkout for 20% off your order of $50 or more, plus free shipping. Or visit www.cigarsinternational.com/fanatics, and the discount will automatically apply. Again, use code FANATICS at checkout for 20% off your order of $50 or more, plus free shipping. Or visit www.cigarsinternational.com/fanatics, and the discount will automatically apply.
If you're a maintenance supervisor at a manufacturing facility and your machinery isn't working right, Grainger knows you need to understand what's wrong as soon as possible. So when a conveyor motor falters, Grainger offers diagnostic tools like calibration kits and multimeters to help you identify and fix the problem. With Grainger, you can be confident you have everything you need to keep your facility running smoothly. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Oh, baby! What is up, Buffalo Fanatics? Z-Bot here with you Monday night, live on the Buffalo Fanatics YouTube channel. It's the Smoke Break. So good to have you in on this Monday evening, fresh off a draft weekend. It's in the books. It came and it went, and it was an exciting weekend indeed. If you joined us at any point over the weekend, we appreciate you tuning in. We had an incredible response. So many of you guys spent draft weekend with me, Rico, Rev, Pierre, Kevin, Don. It was awesome. I mean, what an incredible weekend it was. It's fun, obviously, of course, having the draft. But to be able to share it with all of you guys makes it twice as fun. And if you tuned in at any point, you know, it was hilarious. You get all of us guys in a room together for that long, something funny's bound to happen. And it was a ride for sure. Let's address some comments coming in right now. Bot, how was Arby's? I told you. If you tuned in at all during draft weekend, you know one of my biggest gripes of the weekend was the fact that almost every other commercial during the draft was for Arby's boneless wings. I told you during the shows, I don't quite understand where Arby's gets their marketing budget from. I haven't seen a human being inside of an Arby's, maybe ever. There was one in my hometown a few years ago. I never saw a single car in it ever. And it was open for what felt like decades without any soul walking in there. So I just didn't understand it. Mix that with the fact that they're getting into the boneless wing game. As we know, boneless wings are fraudulent. It's the most fraudulent food in the culinary sphere. Now, if you've been keeping up with me on Twitter, you know I've been dabbling into the wing game, though. It might not be with Arby's, but it's the wing game. I went ahead and braved the Doritos Flaming Hot wings from Buffalo Wild Wings. If you haven't checked out my video on those, at ZachB22 on Twitter, go check it out. That was an experience, to say the least. It didn't stop there, though. Today, I was scrolling Twitter, and they know me well. That algorithm is not messing around. They had popped up an ad for me for Cheetos chicken wings from this new virtual restaurant called Cosmic Wings. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Mr. Beast Burger, but that was like the first virtual restaurant. You're probably thinking, what in the hell is a freaking virtual restaurant? I personally don't know. Apparently, it's these restaurants that don't exist physically. They work out of the back of a random kitchen and they sell food on like DoorDash and Grubhub and stuff. This wing joint is one of those. And just when you thought it couldn't get any better, Dorito covered chicken wings, boom, this place has Cheetos covered chicken wings. You know damn well I ordered them. Within the hour of me seeing that on Twitter, they were at my door. Chowed those down earlier. As you could expect, they were unbelievable. And of course, as you can expect, video on those coming soon. Actually, I was working on it before the show started here, and I was starting to feel the repercussions of my actions. You can't eat Flaming Hot Doritos chicken wings and then Cheetos chicken wings and expect to feel 100%. I actually wound up falling asleep on the floor. I have a pile, ironically enough, I have a pile of Bills jerseys on the floor. I've been going through my old Bills jerseys. And I fell asleep on top of those. I literally woke up 20 minutes ago, and it was one of those naps where you fall asleep on the floor and you wake up and you literally wonder, where in the hell am I? So that's what I'm coming in with tonight. But of course, I'm ready to rock, as I always am. And how could you not be after a full weekend of draft excitement? The weekend was great. Lots of storylines to dive into. And of course, we will start with our Buffalo Bills, but before we do, a couple of little things to touch on. One, shocking news coming out today in the NFL. DeAndre Hopkins suspended 6 games for the use of PEDs. You know, PEDs, the only person coming to the top of my head that I can remember in the NFL recently that had a problem with them nonstop was Julian Edelman. It just feels like in the NFL, it's not as big of a problem as it's been in other sports, particularly in baseball. That was a shock. DeAndre Hopkins, one of the biggest names in the sport. You think Arizona could be primed to have a terrific season this year after acquiring A.J. Brown. Not A.J. Brown, excuse me. Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown from the Ravens. And, you know, pairing him with DeAndre Hopkins, what could that offense potentially look like? Things changed dramatically today. DeAndre Hopkins, 6-game suspension for the use of PEDs. On top of that, we have a new jersey number change in Buffalo. Isaiah McKenzie, no longer number 19. He's going to be number 6, which is interesting. That's cool. Maybe we get a new Isaiah McKenzie, already one of the fastest, if not the fastest guy on the team. You got to think he'll look faster in a single-digit number than he would the double-digit. So that is another bit of news coming out of Buffalo today. There's also, if you go over to the Bills' Twitter, they announced who all the new draft picks, what numbers they'll be wearing. I'll touch on that right now. So as I said, Isaiah McKenzie switching to 6. And who's taking over number 19, you ask? It's our new favorite Buffalo Bill, ladies and gentlemen, the punt god. Punt god, baby. He is a Buffalo mother effing Bill. We talked it into existence. The punt god. We didn't have to do it in the first round like I thought we might have to. Thought we were going to have to pull some strings. Thought Brandon Beane was going to have to maybe mortgage the future of this franchise for the next decade in order to get a generational punter like Punt God. But as we know, Brandon Beane, he's a savant. He's a genius. He knows how to get things done without selling the farm. And that's exactly what Brandon Beane did. He gets the Punt God in the 6th round. Obviously a top 10 talent. God knows how Punt God fell that far, but he fell in the Buffalo Bills' lap, and he is our Punt God now, baby. And he's rocking number 19, formerly rocked by Lil Dirty Isaiah McKenzie, who I said is now going to be wearing number 6. Elam going to be wearing 24, James Cook 28, Bernard 43, Shakir number 10. So those are your new numbers for your new Buffalo Bills. And speaking of new Buffalo Bills, let's get into who the hell the Bills drafted over the weekend. It was an exciting weekend, a lot of areas addressed that needed to be addressed. I am excited about what the Buffalo Bills did over the weekend in the draft. Now, I understand, right? You go into this draft, you're picking in the you're picking in the late 20s. The Bills are currently at a point in their process, right, heading towards the Super Bowl, where the draft isn't as exciting as it would be if you were higher up. And that's what you want. You don't want the draft to be exciting, because if the draft is exciting, if the build up to the draft is as exciting as the season is for your team, guess what? Your team ain't that good. You know who's looking forward to the draft all year? The New Jersey Jets fans. Those people are looking forward to the draft. Bills fans, yeah, the draft's great. It's fun. It's awesome. I love it. It's great. We had a great time over the weekend. It's not priority number one for the Buffalo Bills and our fans. No, that's getting a ring. So I understand it wasn't over the moon exciting going into the weekend, but it was a good weekend nonetheless. Speaking of those New Jersey Jets, I'll touch on them in a little bit. I got my winners and losers from the draft that I'll be sharing with you, and I think you know right where those Jets wound up. What a draft for the New York Jets. I can't even begin to argue that they didn't have the best draft of the weekend. Just what they were able to pull off, incredible. Could be a organizational change completely in New York for those Jets based on this draft class. They did a hell of a job. Going back into the comments here, appreciate all you guys joining in tonight. We got over 100 in here right now. Smash that like button if you wouldn't mind. Subscribe if you haven't already. Namdi coming in saying Z-Bot side stories are legendary. I aim to please, Namdi. I appreciate you. It's not my fault that I'm easily distracted. When I see the Arby's commercial, I got to say something. The one, I don't know if you guys caught this while we were picking James Cook, but another thing that completely had me sidetracked during the draft that I just couldn't get over, and I'll post this video of my reaction to this on Twitter after the show here. I'm working on it currently. There was a moment during James Cook's selection where I think I had ESPN2 on. I don't remember what exactly the stream was, but they decided, hey, you know what? The Bills are drafting round 2. Screw them. Let's interview a professional dancer while the Bills are taking James Cook. I couldn't believe it. They were interviewing a professional dancer. Please let me know what in the hell that has to do with anything. I've been waiting all damn day to get to the Bills pick day 2. I'm watching this pro dancer get interviewed. Please let me know. Bills Mafia FUQS wants to know if my bunghole felt okay the next day. Listen, I don't want to get too vivid here, but the answer is a resounding no. The answer is a resounding no. Scott Blakely saying, man, Smoke, you were heated on that running back going to the Jets. Yeah, I wanted to touch on that real quick before I get into the Bills draft class here. I don't want to, Rico put out the clip. Everybody's loving it. Oh, the Buffalo boys. I saw a lot of Jets fans salivating over us being so upset that the Jets got Breece Hall. Actually, I saw one Jets fan comment. He said, oh, so nice to watch other AFC East fans upset with their team's picks while the Jets are getting the guys that they want. I just thought to myself, oh, my God. Back to my original point. That's the Super Bowl for Jets fans, right? Yes, you had a terrific draft class. I'm not going to take that away from you, but that's the peak of your season right there, okay? The reason I was upset about the Breece Hall situation was not because the Bills necessarily didn't get him. I was pretty certain the Bills were not going to be able to get Breece Hall on day 2 as far back as they were picking. There were 2 reasons I was pissed. One, he went really early, day 2. And, day 2, it's a bit slower, obviously, than day 1. And I really wanted something to look forward to. I wanted to see, man, is there a possibility that Breece Hall could fall that far? Because that would be exciting, right? Something to root for. 2, the other reason I was upset, he went to the goddamn Jets. That's why I'm upset. Rico and Rev did a hell of a job of convincing me that Breece Hall was going to be the future for the Bills. And Rev really dove deep into it. Rev has done a terrific job doing his work on our draft coverage this year. And then, of course, Rico had an absolute love affair for Breece Hall. And, you go on shows with Rico and Rev 2-3 times a week for a couple of weeks. Next thing you know, you got a love affair for the kid, too, and you don't even know why. And, I blinked, and all of a sudden, I'm rooting for Breece Hall as hard as anybody, and I don't even know why the hell I'm doing it. I just got excited about it. And it was just, it was disheartening to see him go to the Jets because, one, didn't see that coming. I just did not see the Jets going running back, especially in round 2, trading up to do it. I don't think anybody saw that coming. So it kind of just sucked the fun out of day 2 for me early on. That's why I was pissed. I wasn't really pissed that the Bills didn't get him. I had accepted that. It was just a matter of him going to the Jets and him going that early that kind of pissed me off. But hey, you can't win them all. You know what I mean? You really can't. So what we did in round 2, I'm very excited about. Don't let that be mistaken. And we're going to get into that later on here in the show. Jason N coming in saying, was watching Matt Ariza's videos until now. Z-Bot, Matt Ariza is new number 19. Yes, he is. I don't know what happened there. I'm not sure why Isaiah McKenzie wanted to switch up his number, but he's number 6. And the punt god is 19. I was really hoping for a different number for punt god. I was hoping number 1 potentially for punt god. I thought that was really fitting, seeing that he's clearly the best player on the team now. I figured, well, number 1 would be a perfect fit, but he went 19. That's fine. I accept that. It wouldn't have mattered what number he got. I'm buying the punt god jersey. Although I'm going to have to, well, one, they're probably not going to list the jersey on the site because I don't know. Apparently NFL Shop hates money, but I'll get a custom jersey, number 19, punt god on the back. That is a guaranteed order for your boy Bot. That is a guaranteed order. But enough about punt god right now. Plenty of time to get in him later in the show. Let's start where the Bills started. In round 1 of the 2022 NFL draft, the draft was wild, and I had a feeling it would be, and that was why I was excited about it. Typically, we get excited because of the big names and the overwhelming quarterback talent typically that can come in and change organizations. You can see how the future of the NFL can start molding. Look no further than when the Bills took Josh Allen in 2018. We'll look back years from now, and we'll truly realize how crazy of a class the 2018 draft class was and how it really shaped the future of the NFL. That wasn't really the case this past draft, right? But what we did see in this last draft was a lot of uncertainty, and that is what made it exciting. There was the most trades in the first round we've ever seen in the history of the NFL draft. It was a wild weekend. Even Mel Kiper had said himself, he's been covering this since he was in diapers. He can't remember a time when it was ever this hectic. And if you notice during the stream, during the broadcast, the boys couldn't keep up. I had the ESPN broadcast on. They couldn't keep their notes together because things were switching so rapidly. By the time they got to the previous pick, somebody had traded, they moved up, and they were making a move, and they couldn't keep up. It was a wild weekend. 6 wide receivers in the first round of the draft, tied for the most ever. That was no surprise. We are seeing now, and this will continue, the wide receiver draft classes that are coming out of college are getting better and better to the point where they come in, start day 1, and are immediately some of the best wide receivers in the league. We've seen this happen the last couple of seasons. I don't expect that to pause anytime soon. The beauty of that is in the first round, you're really going to get a franchise differentiator at the wide receiver position. No question about it, right? But the great thing about the amount of wide receivers that there are is that as these rounds go on, teams like that, teams that are in the Bills situation, Chiefs situation, Packers situation, you can get wide receivers later on in the draft that can still be a major player on your offense. Do I need to bring up Gabe Davis in the 4th round? Obviously, Stephon Diggs is a 5th rounder. There are gems to be found later on in the draft at that position in particular. But what you're seeing, of course, is where the NFL is heading, and that is you need at least one world beater at wide receiver if you want to be competitive. Of course, you have to have the quarterback situation figured out in order for that guy to be successful. But if you have your guy, or you think you have your guy, the next step is, of course, to get him the solidified wide receiver one. We saw 6 teams go ahead and do that on day one of the draft. One of the bigger surprises in that department was the New Orleans Saints. I don't think you guys realize, I didn't even realize until today, how much the Saints gave up to draft Chris Olave. They gave up like 5 picks. It was nuts, but that is what organizations are doing now in order to get a guy that they think is a game changer at the wide receiver position. So that position group in particular really seemed to dominate the first round for me. But overall, first round in general, crazy action, tons of trades, and tons of uncertainty, which made it a lot of fun. For the Bills, the big question, I think, going in, there was a variety of questions going into the draft, of course, right? Obviously. The main question, I think, was what position group are the Bills going to go with? That was the main question. And I think as we got closer to the weekend, we had narrowed it down. So I would say confidently 2 position groups. We had narrowed it down to running back and cornerback. Now, if you've been keeping up with me and my thoughts on the situation, I was a firm believer that cornerback was the play. If you look at this roster, the only noticeable hole for the Buffalo Bills was cornerback 2. And that's it. I mean, we're talking about one of the most, if not the most complete roster in the NFL. The only situation that had not been addressed in the offseason was cornerback. And I knew right then and there that meant Beane had a plan for the first round in order to take care of it. Sure enough, that was exactly that. The other question I think we all had was, is Beane going to trade up? I personally thought he wasn't. I thought that there was enough cornerbacks in this draft. The depth was big enough to where the Bills could wait till 25 and still have an elite corner fall to them. Now, that was looking like it was going to be the case, right? The Bills pick was nearing closer and closer. Booth was still there. Elam was still there. And it just felt like the Bills would be able to stay at 25 and still get a top-tier corner. But the Bills didn't sit on their hands. They trade up. They jumped the Cowboys. They trade their 4th-round pick to the Baltimore Ravens, and they take Kaiir Elam out of Florida. I want to start there with the pick. I think a lot of people are excited about this pick. A lot of people are happy. They're satisfied. They're looking forward to seeing what this defense could potentially be with another stud corner mirroring Trey White. I know I am. I'm pumped to see how this all winds up playing out, of course. But I noticed the biggest complaint after the draft pick was, why did we trade a 4th-round pick? It didn't seem necessary. Listen, I'm no stranger to it. We all are victims of this from time to time. We love to be the armchair GM. I try my best not to be, because I know damn well that I don't know a damn thing compared to the guys being paid to do it. Beane has forgotten more about how to run a football team than I'll ever know about it in my entire life. I understood the questioning, though. It did seem like Elam, or at the very least Booth, which we know Booth slid pretty heavily into the 2nd round. We were, aware the Bills could potentially move up, but it just seemed like they weren't going to. And I myself was a bit shocked. It didn't seem like they needed to, but they did. Now, this told me 2 things. And this is the reason why I think we should all be okay with the fact that Brandon Beane traded up. And I want to start by getting this out of the way first. I understand that 4th-round picks aren't throwaway picks. That was a lot of people's argument. Gabe Davis, perfect example. Gabe Davis, if he has another year that even resembles what it was last year, that's a solidified wide receiver 1 in this league. No question about it. We lucked the hell out with Gabriel Davis. We're talking about numbers in the playoffs last season that have never been seen. Gabriel Davis, a solidified wide receiver 2 on this team coming up this year, is primed to be one of the best young receivers in this league. That's a 4th-round pick. Right there, I don't even need another example. The 4th round is crucial. You can find gems in the 4th round. And a lot of people were saying just that. Why would we get rid of the 4th? And I agree. A 4th is not a throwaway pick. You don't think Brandon Beane knows that, though? You don't think Brandon Beane's well aware the potential that the 4th round, or any round for that matter, can bring to a team? That right there should show you how much moving up meant to the front office when the decision was made. Brandon Beane didn't trade up for his health. He didn't trade up because he was bored. He traded up because that room at the time felt as though there was a need to do it in order to get their guy. I had said leading up to the draft, the only way I see the Bills trading up is if they have a guy and a guy in particular that they want to make 100% sure they get, no question about it. If there was even an inkling of a worry that the guy they wanted wasn't going to fall to them, Beane was going to make a move. And that's why I'm okay with it. They wanted Elam. Elam was their guy. It wasn't, the front office wasn't sitting back saying, okay, maybe Elam or maybe Booth, whoever falls to us. No, it was Elam and Elam all day. And that's why you should be happy that the Bills traded up. You don't have to be happy they gave up a fourth. It's not, it's not great. It's not ideal, but you should be happy because what does that tell you? The Bills had so much faith in Kaiir Elam that they had to make 100% sure he was going to be the guy. They had to make 100% sure that nothing was going to be able to come in the way of them getting him. So they trade up 2 spots to get it done. And I think after we saw the Bills embedded footage from Kaiir Elam visiting with Beane and McDermott, you know exactly why they made that move. They had fell in love with that kid the second he stepped on to the property of One Bills Drive. It was inevitable. For God's sake, the guy pulled out he pulled out a damn book like this, filled to the brim with notes as to how he can get better, notes as to what he can improve on, people that he needs to beat, whatever the hell else. I mean, that's gold if you're sitting there as a coach and a GM. That's exactly what you want to see. It felt like in that moment, watching that video, you could see Beane and McDermott falling in love with this kid. So, yes, you get rid of the 4th round. It sucks. Could you have gotten the next Gabriel Davis there? Of course you could have. But that just goes to show you how much Elam meant to this organization. That just goes to show you that he is the guy. It should give you twice as much confidence in the pick. Frankly, I would be less confident over the pick if the Bills did just sit back at 25. Them trading up tells us fans, guys, this is the kid. We're not going to take any chances here. I don't care that Dallas didn't need a corner. There was potential there still, right? And I don't know what it was. And I was confused about this, by the way. They panned to the war room in Dallas. Jerry Jones and company, they panned to the war room after the Bills had traded up. And the Cowboys don't need a corner. They don't need a corner. That was not even on their top 5 needs for this draft. Something about the energy in that room, though, when they panned to the war room in Dallas, I don't know what it was, man, but it looked like somebody died in there. I mean, it looked like it just was depressing. I don't know what to take from that, but I'll tell you, it made me think twice about the reasoning as to why the Bills moved up. We'll never know the real reason. We'll never know the exact reason why the Bills traded up to get Elam. We'll never know for sure. But I'll be the one to sit here with you right now and say it doesn't matter what the exact reason was. Because the only reason that matters is they wanted that guy. They needed to have Elam. He was the guy, top of the board. And they did what it took. They did what they had to do. And it's not like they had to do what the Saints did to get a guy like Olave and trade like 7 picks. They traded 1 4th rounder, and I'm not diminishing the 4th round pick at all, but they did what they had to do in an economically sound way. And I'm fine with that. And guess what? If Elam winds up being half of what Tre'Davious White was or is, you're not going to give 2.5 craps about that 4th round pick. You're just not. And neither am I. And nobody is, right? So I wanted to get that off the table there because, that seemed to be the biggest gripe after the pick. And you know what? I'm cool with that. If the biggest problem from the fan base is, well, I like the pick, but why did we trade up? That goes to show you. We all know that our fan base, we were passionate enough to let people know what the deal is if we're not feeling it. I didn't get that vibe at all. I didn't get that vibe one bit. It seemed like collectively Bills Mafia was more than satisfied with taking Kaiir Elam in the first round. My man, Silas Whittle, coming in with the super chat. He's saying Bean did what he said he was going to do at the end of last year. He added speed on defense and on offense. Plus, he got guys who will get yards after the catch. Exactly right. I don't think anybody put it better than Mel Kiper when it comes to defining what the Bills did in this most recent draft. I was reading the ESPN Plus article where he had gone through and ranked or gave a letter grade to every single team and their draft selections. Here's what Mel Kiper had to say about the Bills' overall draft. He said, quote, all in all, the Bills filled their biggest needs with their top 2 picks. And if Shakir and Benford break out, this class could be one of the best when we regrade it in 5 years. I'll repeat that last statement. This class could be one of the best when we regrade it in 5 years. Strong word choices from Mel Kiper. And it kind of ties back to what Silas is saying here. Every need the Bills needed to address was taken care of in this draft. Bean is laying a foundation right now. He's like Bob the Builder. Bean the Builder, baby. I mean, this is incredible, masterful work that we are seeing from Brandon Bean. All offseason, what did he do? Fill every single hole that needed to be addressed. Some that maybe didn't even need to be addressed got better. Brandon Bean took care of that in the offseason. We went into the draft. We knew what had to be taken care of. Running back, cornerback, potentially the linebacker position. We needed a new punter for sure. All of these things checked off the box. Checked off the box. Brandon Bean, and as a fan, somebody like me who's not in deep on the draft, and I've been transparent with that with you guys from the beginning. But it doesn't take a brain surgeon to realize what the Bills need to get over the hump. You watch the game in vivid detail every damn week. You don't take your eyes off the screen. It doesn't take long to figure out, okay, you know what, this area needs to be addressed for sure if we want to get better. Brandon Bean, he knows that, but to the 10th degree. And I think it's satisfying as a fan when you realize the areas that need to be improved, and so does the GM. You're in unison. And all of those moves were made. I mean, there are situations where you know that areas need to be improved, and they just don't get improved. Prime example, the New England Patriots. I'm sorry. I'm triple and quadruple down on it. I mean, at this point, I don't even care saying it. I have no remorse saying this. I've said it a million times. They're not making the playoffs this year. Sorry. What do you want me to say? Give me a good argument as to how the New England Patriots are making the playoffs this year. Not only did they sit on their hands and do nothing during the offseason, but they go ahead and take a 4th-round grade lineman in the 1st round. You think Patriots fans are sitting around like we are right now, satisfied that all the holes that needed to be filled are covered up? New England fans aren't feeling that right now. And I'm getting a lot of New England fans. I posted my draft reactions on TikTok. As you know, I'm a big TikToker now. And I posted my reactions to my winners and losers on TikTok. I said, listen, biggest loser of this draft, it's New England. And I'm no genius here. Go look at everybody else's grades. New England, go look at it right now. I don't care who you look up. I don't care if you're looking up Tony, your next door neighbor's draft grades, or the guys at ESPN, NFL Network, et cetera, getting paid to make them. Every single one of them has the New England Patriots at the bottom of the list. Why? It was a shit draft, period. Combine that with a dog shit offseason, that's what it was. They're not feeling good today. The Bills are feeling good today. Patriots had plenty of needs. They didn't get filled. And you don't just have to be a great team in order to have small amounts of holes and fill them. The Jets are not good. Far from it. They filled a variety of holes on their team this past weekend. They crushed it. For a team that is their entire organization's a whole, they did a great job of filling up a good amount of it. You don't have to be the Bills and be in their position in order to have a satisfactory draft or make it easier on yourself at least. Patriots right now are in a more similar position to the Jets than they are the Bills. Let that sink in. All right, let's get into it. Kaiir Elam, your newest Buffalo Bill, the first round draft pick that, like we had just talked about, Brandon Beane traded up to make sure that he got. And as I said earlier, his new number. Did I forget it already? Of course I did, because my memory is absolutely shot. Probably those Doritos wings creeping up back up on me. Yes, number 24 is Kaiir Elam. And exciting stuff, I think, Bill's mouth for us. The possibilities here are what gets me excited. That's what gets everybody excited, I think, the draft, right? And I think that's why a lot of people wanted to go running back, because it was the exciting pick. Perhaps wide receiver, that's exciting too. This is an exciting pick, and don't fool yourself otherwise. Don't allow yourself to think otherwise. This is an exciting pick. I want you to understand and conceptualize what this Bills defense could be if Kaiir Elam is as good as advertised. Let me know a better backfield in the league than a first-round cornerback in Kaiir Elam. And this, mind you, this is if he winds up being the guy they drafted him to be, okay? We all know how things can go, right? I get it. Play along with me. The hypothetical here. If Kaiir Elam winds up being who the Bills drafted him to be, mirroring Tre'Davious White with Poyer and Hyde in the backfield, please present to me a backfield in the league that's better. Good luck. Possibilities here are tremendous. That's what's got me excited. So, as I said, the Bills' biggest need heading into this draft, by far, cornerback position. Boom, done. Off the table, round one, trade up, make sure they got it done. Boom, it's over. Kaiir Elam, a Buffalo Bill. That hole is signed. And like I said, when you looked at this roster in totality, that was the glaring hole. That was the glaring need by far. I think it would have been a bit irresponsible to have not addressed it in the first round, personally. Yes, there was a variety of players that you could have gone with and made an argument for, including Breece Hall, and I know condolences to Rico still and everybody who really wanted him in the first round. But I think we need to be satisfied with this pick. The running back in the first round really would have been a luxury pick. And as I'll get into in the second round, we still wound up with a running back that can really make some noise in this league without it costing us filling the biggest need on this team. You could have waited till round two to get the corner, but that to me is another reason why I'm stoked about this pick. They didn't do that, and that's telling me, why didn't we do that? Because this is the guy, Bills Mafia. This is the guy. Case closed. Not only did we get him in the first round, we traded up a couple spots just to make 100% sure he is our guy. And that's what they did. That to me is the biggest takeaway here. The urgency in that trade up has got me twice as stoked about the pick. Just the fact that maybe I'm putting too much value on it, but this is just how I perceive it. You go ahead and make that move, and that just shows me it's a double down on the value that they have put on Kaiir Elam. And I absolutely love that a guy at a position that was that needed made such an impression on this team that even though they probably could have waited till 25, they just wanted to make sure that it was taken care of and they could hit the pillow at night knowing they didn't allow themselves to lose him over just a couple of picks. So I love that. Let's talk about the first impressions. Really, the first impressions have been through the moon, right? We've all seen the footage by now, I'm sure, of Kaiir Elam meeting with Beane and McDermott, like I had mentioned. That means a lot. That means a lot. And I can understand you watch that clip and you're like, okay, well, that could be anybody, right? That could be any prospect. That could be any player. One of the biggest fallacies of the NFL and the kind of the blinder we put up as fans, not every one of these players is as bought into the game as you think they are. They might put on a good face. They really might show you that they're all bought in. But we've learned by now, a lot of the guys, and this is fine. Listen, this is their career. I'm not dogging it one way or the other. People have their priorities. A lot of these guys are in it for the money. Some of these guys are in it for the championship. Some of these guys are in it for the personal accolades. There's a variety of different things that motivate these players. What I took from that Bills embedded footage of Kaiir Elam meeting with McDermott and Beane, this guy is all bought in. This guy is here to win. He's here to be a Bill and make the team better. That's what that little clip shows you. You're not going to get that from everybody. Flat out. You're just not. I know it's a common misconception as fans that all of these guys are like Kaiir Elam, who's got a playbook in his backpack everywhere he goes. No, it's just not the case. It's not true. Not only that, yeah, he's got the boys putting a playbook on the plane for him on the way back so that he can get ready. Some people might write that off as cheesy, corny, whatever. Go ahead, not me. That's not an everyday trait. And what I took away from that, right? The Bills at this point of the process, right? The legitimate process. The Bills at this point, under Beane and McDermott, you know, their culture has become identifiable. And you look around the league, that's a rare trait. Cultures are, you've heard me harp on this time and time again. Cultures are a major driving force behind the success of a franchise. Why do you think the Washington Commanders have struggled for years upon years upon years? Their culture is horrendous. The culture in both New Jersey teams has been terrible. They've consequently been the two most losing teams in the league the last handful of seasons. Culture means everything. The Bills' culture was terrible for decades. And Beane and McDermott come in and switch the gear. And now the Bills, from what we were used to, go from a bottom tier culture to one of the best, if not the best in the league. And we've seen that attract free agents. We've seen that attract players in general. And right here is a perfect example, the Kaiir Elam pick. The Bills culture has become so identifiable that you can tell when a player is a good fit immediately. And that is why I put value into that footage we saw of Kaiir Elam sitting down with McDermott and Beane. That clip right there, what did it show you? Right off the bat. Culture guy. Process guy. There's no debating it. You can't fake that. And even if you could fake it, I would think that by now, Beane, as good as he is at his job, you could read through a guy. Elam didn't sell him a bill of goods. That was who Elam is. And who he is a process guy, a culture guy. Ergo, a perfect fit for the Buffalo Bills. You can tell immediately what works and what won't. Josh Allen, another great example. Baker Mayfield would not have worked in Buffalo. Granted, he probably wouldn't have worked anywhere. But that right there is a perfect example of a culture fit where, you know, you got a puzzle working and you got the piece that you think's the missing piece and you just, for the love of God, cannot fit it into the puzzle. Josh Allen, he's the most perfectly fit, snug little pieces of puzzle you've ever seen in your life. And even before Josh Allen became Josh Allen, he was a culture guy right off the bat. Think about the way Josh Allen came up. Farm boy, underrated. Nobody gave him a chance. Had to email 1,000 different colleges just to get a sniff at a starting gig at the quarterback position. Right? That's who Josh Allen is. And all of that, you know, all of those lessons throughout his life, all the hardships, all the hard work he had to put in to get there, it allowed him to form into the Josh Allen we know, the Josh Allen we drafted, and that is exactly what fits in Buffalo, right? You wouldn't have seen that with Baker Mayfield. You wouldn't have seen that with Josh Rosen. Obviously, the Bills could have made a gigantic error there, right? I personally think, outside of the incredible ceiling that Josh Allen posed coming into the league, I think the real driving force behind why the Bills drafted him is because he was a perfect fit. When you think Buffalo, you think Josh Allen, and that's not just because of the play on the field. Josh Allen is Buffalo. Josh Allen embodies and resembles Buffalo. Hard work, humble, positive, fill in the blank. That's Josh Allen. What I'm getting at here is the culture is so identifiable in Buffalo that you can tell if it's going to work or if it's not going to work. Kaiir Elam's going to work. Maybe not right away. Maybe not on day one. It's going to work. And if it doesn't, I'd be absolutely stunned. There's a lot of value in culture. There's a lot of value in character. You don't always see it on the field. You don't see it in the stat sheet, but where you do see it, is through the success of the franchise. Kaiir Elam, a perfect fit. And I think that clip in particular just gave you a little glimpse of what we can expect from Kaiir Elam. And that's got me super excited. The other reason I'm super excited about Kaiir Elam is the fact that the kid is 20 years old. 20 years old is Kaiir Elam. You know, I'm getting to that point in my life where, you know how you kind of transition between being a kid and you're a teenager and then an adult, but you never really feel the transition. You just kind of blank and you're like, oh shit, I'm 25 and have adults responsibilities and real world problems. What the hell happened, right? And that's where I'm kind of at right now. I'm 25 and I think about it and I'm like, oh my God, this kid's 5 years younger than me. And he just gets drafted and he's very well going to be the day one starter at cornerback too. So that is another reason to be super stoked here. We could potentially have years and years and years of success from Kaiir Elam. Hell, he's going to be, by the time he gets to his first contract negotiation, he's barely going to be the age of most guys coming out of college. That to me is an underrated quality here, the age. I love that. Speed, definitely a factor with Kaiir Elam. He's got incredible speed, incredible ability to cover with press coverage, very detail-oriented, as we saw from the example I was just touching on. The guy had a notebook filled to the brim with all the little things that he could work on. The other thing that I love about Elam that I had heard, this was from Bills Wire as I was reading up on, the different little tidbits around the pick. So when Beane and McDermott met with Elam, Beane had asked Kaiir if there was anything that he wanted to ask them about playing in the NFL. And he could have asked anything. I mean, think about it. You're off to the NFL. You don't know what to expect. Your world's about to change within an instant. You could ask a million different questions, right? Kaiir Elam asked Beane, what do you think I need to get better at? I mean, right there. I'll look at it from my perspective. That'd be like, if I'm sitting down with, I don't know, the head of ESPN or Fox Sports or somebody like that, and there'd be a million questions I'd have about breaking into that industry at that level, right? A million. And I don't know if the first question off the top of my head would be, what can I get better at? That's another reason right there. Culture fit. That was the first thought that came to mind for Kaiir Elam. What can I get better at? And then it was clear and evident that he had just a real respect for Tre'Davious White. And he had asked Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott, quote, what does Trey White do? What has he done to be so good? So right off the bat, we're seeing Kaiir Elam already, put guys like Tre'Davious White and Buffalo Bill on a pedestal. It's somebody that it's almost like a role model of sorts for Kaiir Elam. The cool thing about this visit is Kaiir Elam got to visit and meet with Tre'Davious White during his trip to One Bills Drive. Got to meet with Tre'Davious White. And according to Kaiir Elam, he said, quote, that Tre'Davious White said, honestly, he just told me how much he watched my game and how the way I played. And then Kaiir Elam would go on to say that he looks forward to just picking his brain as much as he can. And he looks at Tre'Davious White as a guy that he could just go and try to learn from. So the guy really just seems like he wants to succeed. That's all he wants. And he wants to do so in Buffalo. He wants to be the best version of himself he can be in Buffalo. And while he's here, he wants to make sure that he is a major factor in the Bills' upcoming pursuit to take that next step getting toward the championship. So many different things about this pick that I love. Right here, though, all those examples are my favorite. Just the fact that he really does seem like he is a perfect fit for this franchise, this culture. And I'd have to say from that respect, from that regard, I have to think Brandon Beane is a terrific judgment of character, clearly. And we've seen who he's brought in. They've all been just more or less just perfect, really, when it comes to that. I've talked about this a million times. The Bills just don't have any problems, off the field problems, distractions. It just doesn't happen. And if it does, it's very minute or rare, They're really good judges of character out in Buffalo. And right here is a perfect example. So that's Kaiir Elam, your first-round draft pick for the Buffalo Bills in 2022. And I would venture to say that he will be an immediate starter for the Bills come day one of the NFL season. And speaking of which, we're 10 days away from today from the schedule release. An underrated day of the year. That's one of my favorites. Because, well, now it is at least, because now it's big for the Bills, right? Because you know it's inevitable. You're going to get a handful of primetime games. Just a matter of against who and what night and where. That's what I love about it. Excuse me. And the Bills' schedule this year is a wild one. Some crazy games on the docket this year. So 10 days from tonight, we will find out where those games will be played, what night, what time, prime time, etc. So that's super exciting. Let's go back into the comments here, catch up with you guys, see what you all are saying. Give me your thoughts in the comments as we continue to go on. What was your thought on the draft overall, the first round pick, the decision to go with James Cook in the second round that I'll talk about here in a second? Who did you think won the draft? Who did you think lost the draft? Just give me your thoughts. Would love to hear from you and get a chance to see what you guys thought overall from the weekend. Michael Lanzone coming in here asking an interesting question. He's asking, Z-Bot, was Elam the missing piece to a Super Bowl run? That's a loaded question, right? Obviously, how much stake can you put in a guy that hasn't played an NFL snap? And that goes for all these guys, right? You know, I don't care if you're the number one pick or Mr. Irrelevant. You haven't proved a damn thing until you get out on that field. And that goes for every single one of these guys. But the answer to that question I'd have to lean more towards a yes, just because the missing piece for this team in general was a cornerback, and that missing piece is no longer missing. So Elam by default, because that's who the Bills chose to go with at the spot, then you know what? The more you think about it, if you want to get black and white with it, yeah, the answer would probably be yes. The Bills needed a cornerback that is worthy of being a day one starter right away. They feel like that's Elam. So at face value, as of right now, the missing piece was cornerback. It's no longer missing. Put 2 and 2 together. Yeah, very well could be the missing piece that could wind up leading to the Bills getting to the Super Bowl. 100%. Jason N saying, Z-Bot, we also got 2 linebackers for depth. We sure did. Linebacker was a big area of addressment over the past weekend. I guess a lot of people were shocked about the third round pick, which I'll get into obviously in a little bit here. We knew linebacker was a possibility. I didn't think the Bills would double dip on it, but clearly we're seeing that is a point of emphasis for the Bills and Brandon Beane, and I understand it. The way that the linebacker situation is being shaped out right now in Buffalo, it does make sense that the Bills and Brandon Beane decided to go linebacker not only in the third round, but they double dipped on it as well. Ned coming in here talking to me and saying, to your earlier point, Z-Bot, giving up their fourth to pick Elam is no small thing. The front office was sold. Bingo, Ned. Right there is it signed, sealed, delivered, case closed to me when it comes to talking about getting rid of that fourth rounder. Yes, it is no small thing. Yes, I understand some people are upset about it because, like you said, it is no small thing. A fourth rounder could wind up being a franchise changer. But like you just said, like I was talking about earlier, the front office was sold. That's got me sold. If the guy that you want, if you want him that bad to where you're willing to give up that fourth rounder just to move up a couple spots to make sure of it, I'm cool with that. Because at this point, I have so much trust in this front office. If that's the direction they want to go, if that's the way they felt they needed to get it done, fine by me. Sign me up. What else we got going on in here? Let me know your thoughts. Like I said, fill these comments, fill up the section up, and keep letting me know what you guys felt, not only about the Bills, but in general from the past weekend. Khalil Shakir, such a steal. Yeah, that seems to be one of the bigger steals of the draft, just based on, the general consensus. We'll touch on him in a second here. That was an area that I felt the Bills were definitely going to attack in the draft here, wide receiver position. Some felt that it could happen in the first round. I know I mentioned earlier that 6 wide receivers did go in the first round. They all went early. I mean, they were gone. I had dogged on the Green Bay Packers. I had felt that they took a big L in the first round of the draft just because they had 2 picks and they didn't wind up with a wide receiver. Now, granted, they wound up with a top tier one in the second round early on, but for the Green Bay Packers, a team that I felt desperately needed a wide receiver, especially after losing Devontae Adams, and you couple that with the fact that Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers' relationship is quickly coming to its end, it was shocking that they didn't pair those two picks together to get up and get one. But a guy like Jahan Dotson went in the mid-teens. It was projected that he'd fall to the 20s. All of those top guys were gone. Drake London, I don't think anybody had him being the first wide receiver off the board. There he goes. Wide receivers was the major point of emphasis in the first round. But like I said earlier, yes, the top guys, of course, are going to go in the first round, but there's so many great wide receivers coming out of college now. For the Bills, a perfect example right there. You wait. It's not your biggest need, so you don't attack it in the first or the second. And with their fourth round pick, they get Khalil Shakir, who a lot of people seem to be high on. So I'm looking forward to see what he brings to the table. A Mountain West guy, just like our boy Josh Allen out of Boise State. So that'll be fun to see what he brings to the wide receiver room. Let's get into round 2. James Cook. And once again, let me just address this again because I saw some more people in the comments talking about this. I'm not upset with the James Cook pick. I'm stoked about it. And the more time goes on here, the more stoked I get about it. Everybody thought that I was all in on Breece Hall as much as, Rico. Rico was the guy on Breece Hall, right? When you thought Breece Hall, you thought Rico, right? And I had started to feel that way because I definitely wanted a running back. The reason I was so pissed about him going in the second round is because he went to the Jets, because all we did all offseason, or not all offseason, but as the draft came closer, all we did for the most part was talk about Breece Hall. That was like the biggest talking point for the last 2 weeks. So it just really pissed me off that, one, not only did he go so early in the second round, but he went to the mother effing Jets. And we're going to have to face him twice a year. I'm not worried about facing him, by the way. Oh, a lot of Jets fans are like, oh, not only did you want him or didn't get him, but he's going to dominate you. Okay. Yeah, I've been hearing that about, Sam Darnold and whoever the hell else. God, could you even name like 5 players in the Jets? Honestly. I mean, now you could after this draft, but beforehand, I mean, good God. So take that for what it's worth. John coming in here. Yeah, Rico was totally upset because he really, really wanted Breece Hall. Rico really wanted Breece Hall. And his reasons were 100% valid, 100%. And I had shared a lot of that sentiment because I told you guys, this team, this offense, I just want to know what it looks like with an elite running back. We don't even know what that looks like. Not even close. Yes, Devin Singletary. He's been more than serviceable. I like Devin Singletary a hell of a lot, but he's not, he's not a top 5-10 back in this league. Everybody knows that. And so we don't know what this Bills offense is with an elite running back. And that is why we wanted the Bills to potentially attack that area in the draft here. And Rico personally had felt that Breece Hall was the guy, and not only him, but everybody else did too. He was the first running back off the board. So I understand why there's Bills fans, including Rico, who are upset. I wasn't in the same camp as Rico, though. Rico was all in. Like he loved Hall, and he was not even close to the only one. There were so many guys. For me, I had really loved the idea of getting Hall, and I really loved the idea of him potentially falling in the second round and us getting him. That really got me excited. When the Jets took him, that was kind of a kick to the balls just because it was the Jets. But I promise Rico will get over it. And when James Cook winds up, putting up Hall of Fame numbers on the ground, Rico's going to be fine. All of the boys at Buffalo Fanatics are going to be fine. We're going to be more than good. I promise. Also, best of luck to Breece Hall. Best of luck. But he's a Jet. So we'll pause on that. Johnny Blaze coming in here saying, how is Hall an elite running back? He's not. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, the Bills haven't gone out and gotten what they perceive to be an elite running back. The Jets drafted Breece Hall because they believe he can be an elite running back. You're not trading up in the earliest of the second round to get a running back if you think he's just going to be average. You're not doing that. Hell, the Bills didn't get James Cook to be average. Yeah, I know it was later on in the second round. You don't draft anybody in the second round to be average. You don't draft anybody in the seventh round to be average. I'm not saying that Breece Hall is elite. I'm saying the Bills have never had an elite running back. They have not had a guy who they perceive to be elite or they drafted to be elite. This could potentially be it for the Bills in James Cook. So let's get into James Cook, by the way. Speaking of which, James Cook, your new running back at One Bills Drive, and he will be paired up with Devin Singletary, certainly, and you can expect them to split the majority of the snaps this coming season. The running back out of Georgia and the brother of Dalvin Cook, and I'll tell you this right now, Bills Mafia, if he winds up being a fraction of what his brother was, I might have to make room for a couple trophies in that case, not just one, but I digress. So, many Bills fans, including myself, Rico, a lot of the Fanatics boys, a lot of guys in general, we thought there was potential for running back in round one. We truly did. And it made a lot of sense. But I think when all the chips fell, that, the cornerback was the logical choice. It was the right choice. And for that reason, I am over the moon satisfied with a pick for Kaiir Elam in the first round. Don't get it twisted. I love that pick. Truth be told, man, I love this draft for the Bills. I love this draft. The third round was a bit, questionable, and I understand that, and I kind of feel that same way too. But the first two rounds, hell, man, if you told me the Bills were going to walk out of the first two rounds with a starting corner and a rotational to potential starting running back, who's not signing up for that? Who isn't signing up for that? Every damn fan, besides my boy Jeff King, we know how he felt about. We know how Jeff King felt about the first round pick. If you tune into the stream over the weekend, man, Jeff King, my man, put on a freaking show. That was awesome, huh? But listen, I think if you surveyed all of Bills Mafia and said, hey, listen, by the end of day two, the Bills are going to have a starting running back and a starting corner, I'm signing up for it, and I'd venture to believe 99.9% of you guys are signing up for it too. So obviously they go corner instead of running back in round one. Like I mentioned, the Jets viewed Breece Hall as somebody that they felt could be a major piece on offense, so they trade up into the early second round to get Breece Hall, and with him off the board, I think a lot of us were thinking, okay, well, Ken Walker's next out of Michigan State, the running back out of Michigan State. I know all of us on the live stream we're thinking, okay, Breece Hall, he's gone. We got to get over it. Obviously, from the video clip you saw, we took a minute to get over it. I felt so bad for Rico. It hit Rico hard. I think Rico had become so used to the thought that he had created of Breece Hall in Buffalo that's what got him so upset, right? I felt bad, legitimately. You could just tell, like, his demeanor kind of changed when Breece Hall was gone. And then I think once we came to the realization that he was gone, we had started talking about, okay, he's obviously not an option anymore. How about Ken Walker out of Michigan State? And, well, that got thrown off the window too, because he wound up going to the Seattle Seahawks at pick number 41. So early on in the second round, we weren't particularly certain as to where these running backs were going to fall in this draft. There was potential to go late round one, obviously, to the Bills. There was potential to have the early second round be filled with running backs, but there was also potential for these guys to slide and slide and slide. No one really knew where they'd wind up going. And by the time the day on Saturday kicked off, or Friday night rather, the running backs were a major point of emphasis in the second round, and the top two guys on the board were gone. So the Bills didn't let that deter them, though, and I love that. The Bills took the third running back off the board, and that was James Cook. If you could point to one area on the Bills offense that needed improvement, if you looked at the Bills offense and said to yourself, what's the one area on this elite top-tier offense that could use an upgrade? Everybody and their mother would have said running back. It was a no-brainer. Everybody knew it. And we were really hoping that at some point, first round, second round, whatever, that Beane and the boys would take a roll of the dice on a guy that they felt could be a game changer in that position. That is exactly what they did in the second round, getting James Cook. Silas back in here with another super chat. He's saying Rico looked like his soul was crushed over Breece. It was. You know how it goes, man. You get so attached with somebody or something, an idea. I think the other problem too for Rico and other guys who are really, drawn to the idea of Breece Hall is because as the draft came closer and closer, it had become more of a realistic possibility. You had real big names in the NFL industry coming out and saying, yeah, this is a very likely scenario. So I think that that fueled the idealization of, that pick happening in round one. I think it became real, right? Even for me, as much as I thought even a month ago that there was no way the Bills would go running back in round one, I think a lot of people felt that. The days went on, the draft got closer, and running back in round one was becoming increasingly realistic. I think that's why a lot of people like Rico were so upset over it, and understandably so. You really get hell-bent on a guy. You fall in love with a guy, and then you're being told that it's going to happen, and then it doesn't. Yeah, that's definitely a gut punch. You pair that with the fact that he goes to the Jets in division and you got to play him twice a year, and you think about the potential for him to be good and how much you wanted him, and now he's on your rival. Like, yeah, there's a variety of situations there that are annoying and suck. But it is what it is. Silas saying, I told Rico he didn't listen. Motor is running back one. We'll see. That's another interesting element about this draft pick, because I would tend to agree with you, Silas. I would. At the very least, we know that he's going to be rotating with James Cook. That's going to be a heavy rotation between those two. Who starts, though, will be a big question. I think James Cook has great potential to be the starter. We'll see what he shows in camp when we get to that time. But I wouldn't be shocked at all if at some point in the season, I'm not saying necessarily week one, but I wouldn't be shocked at all if at some point in the year, James Cook starting. That wouldn't be a shock at all. So like I was saying earlier, though, we have been wondering what this offense could look like with a running back upgrade. And I'm not saying, and I know I keep saying elite. I'm not even saying elite when it comes to this particular situation. The Bills don't need an elite run game. They don't. The Titans have an elite run game. They're not an elite team. You know what I'm saying? The Colts have an elite run game. Are they an elite team? I don't think so. The Bills don't need an elite run game. They have an elite quarterback. They have an elite wide receivers. They have elite wide receivers. They have elite coaching. They have elite front office. They have elite defensive players, a variety of them. You can't be elite everywhere. You can't be elite everywhere. Michelle's saying, I'm in the shower listening to you as you speak. Shampoo, condition, and lather, Michelle. Thanks for queuing me up in the shower. Not only do you not need to be elite in every position, you can't be elite in every position. You can't do it. You can't. This isn't the MLB. There's a cap, there's a salary cap, and there's 11 positions you have to fill. You can't be elite at every single one of them. You just can't. I'm not asking for James Cook to be elite. Would I love it? You're goddamn right. Yeah, of course I love it. Who the hell wouldn't? All I'm asking for here is, can the position be upgraded? If we even see a marginal increase in the run game, I'm telling you, it will do a world of good for this offense. One of the reasons why we should be really excited about James Cook is his ability to dominate in the pass game. We know that this was a major need for Brandon Beane and the Bills, or at least that they felt it was, because the Bills had McKissick, a good receiving running back, on the roster for like 15 minutes, if you remember that, right? I mean, McKissick, similar to Antonio Brown a couple of years ago, McKissick was a Bill for like 15, 20 minutes. And the reason they got McKissick is because they wanted not only an upgrade in the run game itself, but they wanted a guy that they felt could be more of a player in the pass game. When you're looking at, the descriptions on James Cook, one of the biggest things that pops off the screen every time you look into it is that James Cook is a hell of a receiving running back. That right there, boom. If that winds up being the case, automatically an upgrade. We were talking over the weekend about how the Bills really don't run screens at all. They don't incorporate the running back into the pass game as much or nearly as much as other teams do. If James Cook brings that to the table, like hypothetically here, if James Cook comes in and he puts up dead on similar numbers to what Devin Singletary put up in the run game. And mind you, there's no reason to dog on Singletary, and I never do. I like Devin Singletary. I think he's a very serviceable back, and his numbers last year, they weren't bad. I think, the funny thing about the run game and Singletary, from an outside perspective, you would think Devin Singletary was the worst running back in the league the way some people talk about him. That's not true. That is not true. Devin Singletary is a starting running back in this league, for sure. Or at least a rotational running back. For sure. You saw how he came on at the end of the year. We've seen glimpses of what Singletary can do. Singletary has been a very solid piece for us. It's just, it's not as serviceable. It's not as dominant, whatever word you want to put in there, as we wish it would be. Obviously, that's why the Bills were looking to go running back in the draft. Singletary he's been a good piece for us. It just hasn't been the piece at the position to potentially take the Bills over the top on offense. Because I think everybody realizes if the Bills can go to the next level at that position, who's stopping this team? If the Bills can take the running back to the next level, who is stopping this offense? And not only that, but you pair that with the reasoning as to why I'm excited about Kaiir Elam, because if you pair that offense with an upgraded running game with the defense that this unit could potentially be. I mean, let's not forget, this was the number one defense in the league last year. And I know it was on paper, and we all know it wasn't the best defense when it comes down to brass tacks. We know this, right? But look at the damn defense coming into this year. I mean, guys, this defense, who I get it wasn't, in my opinion, the best defense in the league, but on paper and statistically it was. This defense got a hell of a lot better in the offseason, a hell of a lot better. So you pair that with the offense and the Bills, who potentially could be the best in the league. And if you were able to upgrade that running game, I want you to ask yourself, who is beating this team? Let me know. And that's what the goal is here. James Cook does not need to be elite for this run game to be better. He doesn't. He does not. He needs to come in and add an element to this team that it doesn't have. And if that is an increase in the passing department, so be it. Obviously, you're looking for an upgrade in all areas of the position, and that is definitely on the table. 100%. This guy was no joke in Georgia. No joke. A hell of a player. And personally, I didn't know, as much about him as I wish I did going into it. But the more I'm looking into it afterwards, the more I'm reading up on what people are saying about the pick. A lot of people are thinking, there's a lot of, people I saw after the pick who were saying, man, the Bills are going to be unstoppable this year. I mean, that was what a lot of people were coming out and saying after this pick. Because if James Cook just winds up bringing the Bills run game up that much more, what does that lead to? The sky's the limit. The possibilities are endless. So, quick rundown on the stats and kind of what he brought to the table in Georgia just a year ago. 728 yards on the ground might not seem world-beating, but that was just based on the attempts he had. 6.4 yards a carry. You will sign up for that every day and twice on Sunday. 7 touchdowns on the ground. And then he had 27 receptions for 4 touchdowns through the air. He ran a 4.440. He's coming in, similar size, I would say, to Devin Singletary, 5'11", 199 pounds. I'm really looking forward to what this tandem could wind up being. I think this could wind up making Devin Singletary's game better, because I think the Bills really had to rely heavily on Singletary, and I don't necessarily think that he is your bell cow. That Devin Singletary isn't a bell cow. When you look around this league, there's very few bell cow running backs to begin with. There might be 5 or 6, right? Almost 3/4 of the league doesn't have one. And I'm not saying that James Cook will be either. The Bills don't need a bell cow back. And actually, one of the points I've seen made about the Breece Hall situation, which should make people feel better about it if you were kind of like some of the folks at Fanatics and other Bills Mafia members who are really in on Breece Hall. He's considered to be more your bell cow back, your every down back who's going to be, really your workhorse when it comes to, your playbook and your run game. The Bills don't need that. I'll tell you who the bell cow of this entire team is. It's Josh Allen. Case closed. You don't need a bell cow at running back. You got the biggest bell cow in town at the quarterback position. You just need a guy to take a little bit of the load off of Josh Allen. You don't need Josh Allen running for 100 yards every game. You don't need Josh Allen with 12 attempts every game. You don't need him to be your leading rusher 9, 10 of the 17 games. You don't need that. If you pair two running backs who aren't bell cows, but are, good running backs nonetheless, that's what gets me excited about this, because you got a good rotation here. Zach Moss and Devin Singletary isn't a great rotation. But Devin Singletary with James Cook, that could be a good rotation. If James Cook winds up being what the Bills drafted him to be, if Devin Singletary can bring to the team next year what he brought towards the end of the year last year, that's a hell of a rotation right there. And if you can upgrade what you're getting out of the run game in the passing department, not only with play action, which I think that of course will dramatically help if that winds up being true, but also in the screen game, like I was just touching on, sky's the limit. I'm really excited about this pick, everybody. I really, really am. I can't emphasize that enough because I feel like I've been labeled because of that video that I was not excited about Cook. Like that's why I'm like tripling down on this. I want to make it known. I didn't even know James Cook was a possibility when that happened. I was just more pissed that the freaking Jets got Breece Hall, because at that point I had come to the realization, man, the Jets were crushing this draft. The Jets absolutely murdered this draft. And when they got Breece Hall, I'm like, no way, man, because they wound up getting 4 first-round graded guys in the first 35 picks, the 36 picks, whatever the hell it was. That's what pissed me off. I'm just happy that the Bills had done enough due diligence in the running back position in this draft to make sure that no matter who went off the board, they had a guy that they liked, had circled, and were willing to take a risk on in round 2. The other question I asked myself, by the way, is, if say Breece Hall fell, and I'm not saying they wouldn't have gotten it. I think if Breece Hall fell, they would have got him. But who's to say that if Ken Walker was available and Cook was available, who's to say if Cook wasn't the Bills guy? We don't know that. We don't know what was going on in the front office. Cook could have been the guy. Now, I think any team with a running back need would have went Breece Hall. Everybody had him ranked as the best running back. I'd have to imagine the Bills would have went that direction, but we'll never know. For all we know, James Cook could have been the guy for being in the front office the whole time. And I think I've made it pretty clear at this point that I have delegated my trust to being in the front office when it comes to these draft picks. And there's no reason not to. There really isn't at all. So look, I understand there's people who are disappointed about the Breece Hall situation, whatever. I get it. But I think, put your emotions to the side and realize we really could have made a splash here. There is some serious potential in what the Bills just did in the second round here. Serious potential. We've taken risk in the later rounds at running back. It hasn't necessarily been what we would hope it would be. The Bills decided we're gonna spend a higher draft pick than we have under the Beane McDermott regime at that position and see what winds up happening. And that's where we're left off right now. We will see what winds up happening. Back to your comment section I go. Let's see what the dealio is with you guys. J-Dub coming in saying Cook is 100% the closest running back in the draft to McKissick. See, I think the McKissick situation here is lost on a lot of people because I think most people forgot about it. That is a great point. They wanted McKissick because of the qualities he brought to the table. And a lot of people had made the correlation here that, James Cook has a similar play style to McKissick. And that goes back to the point I just made. Could that potentially tell you that he was the guy? That's a realistic possibility. It really is. Now, I'm not saying if Breece Hall would have fallen, it wouldn't have been the pick. I think that, of course, it would have been. He was the clear-cut best running back in this draft, but that does not take away from the fact that I think the Bills going into this draft were high on James Cook, 100%. I don't imagine Beane would take anybody in the second round he wasn't high on. And we know this to be true because Beane will trade down, obviously. We saw it happen. Nonstop, it felt like. Trade down. I'm like, are the Bills ever going to pick? You know? We've seen just this weekend, like Beane will not settle if he feels like there's not a guy of value at the spot that they have. So there you go. Perfect example. Scrolling through here. What else do we got? Johnny Boy coming in saying, what we want is for Josh Allen to be running less. Yeah, you're damn right. That's why I keep saying this running game doesn't need to be elite. Half the battle here when it comes to this running game is just making sure that Josh Allen doesn't get hurt. Seriously, an improvement in this run game would be make it serviceable enough to where Josh Allen is not your bell cow running back. Make it serviceable enough to where Josh Allen is not running open field sweeps 7-8 plays a game. Because we've talked about this a million times. It's only so sustainable. Cam Newton was considered to be a freak athlete during his time. He won an MVP for Christ's sake. He wound up, feeling the repercussions of the way he played. The goal of this front office, I'm sure, is for the Bills. I mean, I don't even need to say it. The goal is to keep Josh Allen healthy until he's old and gray and can play until the wheels fall off. A big part of that is going to be increasing the run game, taking the ball out of Josh Allen's hands. Not when it comes to 4th and 1, 3rd and 1, by the way. That's still Josh Allen's bread and butter. We definitely want to see a decrease, though, in the design runs for Josh Allen on, 1st, 2nd, 3rd and long. Truth to Heart's coming and saying, I disagree, Z-Bot. If we have a bell cow, he can handle a heavy workload at any given game when needed. Running back by committee is only good with teams that's good at running. Well, I mean, I understand your point. Truth to Hearts, I definitely do. I think the thing is, like, when I think bell cow running back, I think for the majority of teams that have bell cow running backs, they don't have a bell cow quarterback. Let's look at the Saints, for example. Kamara, bell cow quarterback. They don't have their situation, running back. They don't have their quarterback situation figured out. You could argue the best tandem in the NFL, running back wise, in Cleveland, they just had to get rid of their first overall pick for Deshaun Watson. And obviously Deshaun Watson, one of the better quarterbacks in the league, but they didn't have their quarterback situation figured out. Derrick Henry, the bell cow of the NFL. We just realized over the weekend that the clock's ticking on Ryan Tannehill. Malik Willis, now a Tennessee Titan. He's going into the last year of his deal, Tannehill is. So right there goes to show you that era could be coming to an end. When I think about bell cow running back, I'm thinking about teams that really don't have an elite game outside of the running game. Colts, perfect example. Carson Wentz, move on from him after a year. Yeah, Jonathan Taylor, probably the best running back in the league last year. Quarterback situation was abysmal. And then you just go down the line, really. When Christian McCaffrey was healthy, I mean, there was like 9 different starting quarterbacks for the Panthers. What I'm getting at here is the majority of these teams who have a bell cow running back don't have much else outside of that. And that's why the Bills don't need it. They have the guy amongst the whole league, top 5 guy. You don't need the bell cow because, frankly, you're not going to be able to use them in a bell cow situation. No matter how good a running back is. I mean, you could have vintage Barry Sanders. You're still not going to want to take the ball out of Josh Allen's hands more than you have to, right? The whole goal of this run game is to increase the pass game, in my opinion. That's how I see it. You want Josh Allen winning you the games. And obviously, of course, you want the best running game possible, but this team is going to be winning games through the air, through Josh Allen. It's never going to be going through the run game, ever. The whole point of the run game is to service the pass game. Speaking of the pass game, or actually not really, pardon me. No, I was going to talk about Khalil Shakir, but I'm skipping a guy. Come on, bot. Round 3 is what we move on to right now. And, this pick right here, Terrell Bernard, linebacker out of Baylor. This pick was the first pick of the weekend where, there were some question marks. I would say, maybe in the first round, there was definitely question marks about the trading up and whatever else, but I don't think anybody was really questioning the pick of corner or Kaiir Elam for that matter. I think it just from my perspective, it seemed like the majority of people were cool with that pick, before I get more into this. Silas, you're on fire tonight, baby. Back in here again with another super chat. Silas saying, all this bell cow running back talk means less touches and targets for others. Who are you going to take opportunities away from when we want to let Josh cook? Bingo. You basically just said what I said in better words. Rock on, Silas. Yeah, 100%. The bell cow just won't work in Buffalo because he can't be a legitimate bell cow. When you're thinking about bell cow, I've never said the words bell cow more in my freaking life than I am tonight. When you're talking about bell cow, the reason you are a bell cow, somebody get the meter running, by the way, the counter. I got to be hitting 100 at this point. The reason a running back is considered a bell cow is because he has to be. He's running the ball nonstop. That ain't happening in Buffalo. I don't care who the hell's back there. It's not happening. It's not happening. Carl coming in saying, Z-Bot, scroll back a bit. You missed my super chat. Oh, my God. Carl, you got to be on me earlier, man. You know how I am. I get going and I screw up. My apologies, Carl. Did not mean to overlook you whatsoever, and I got you right here. Thank you so much, Carl, and thanks for the reminder. If run game, screen game is a threat, then safeties will have to cheat up to stop it, which will open up the passing game for Josh Allen over the top. That's it. Bingo. Great point, Carl. Great point. This is what I'm getting at. This run game doesn't need to be elite, but it needs to be respected enough. It needs to be serviceable enough for stuff like what Carl is talking about right here. If that winds up being the case, we have no idea the potential. We have no idea how much more this offense can be opened up. And you're thinking to yourself, how is it even possible? These guys are already lights out on offense. That's what I'm getting at. That's what I'm getting at. It could be like, I don't even know. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's just so exciting. That's why I'm so stoked about this pick with James Cook. And you know, coincidentally, that's why I'm so stoked about this pick with Kaiir Elam. Or Elam. I'm going to keep doing that. God damn, I keep doing that. It's Elam. Jesus. I don't know why I want to keep saying Elam, but the reason I'm so stoked about him too, it's the potential. Because you think about the pieces that are already surrounding Elam on defense. You think about the pieces that are already surrounding Cook on offense. And you think about what could happen if those two pieces click with the rest of the guys. Oh my God, it gets me so excited. It gets me so excited. Okay. So as I was speaking on, round 3 is where things got a little bit interesting. Terrell Bernard, linebacker out of Baylor. Now, you know, there were some mock drafts that had the Bills going linebacker in round 1. I thought that was absurd. I never thought that was a possibility. There's just no way. I understand there's some question marks surrounding the linebacker position for the Bills, but not nearly enough to warrant a first-round pick. But I guess, you know, it was enough to warrant a third-round pick. Taylor Bernard, round 3, linebacker out of Baylor. It just felt like when this pick was made, there was mixed reactions. I think a lot of people were kind of like scratching their head a little bit. I don't know if a lot of people were aware of who Terrell Bernard was going into this. I don't think a lot of people assumed the Bills were going to go linebacker in round 3. I think there was a lot of questions surrounding this pick in general. The reason this pick makes sense, there's a couple of reasons. One, at that position, based on what the Bills currently have, you can never have enough depth at linebacker. Matt Milano, as good as he is, one of the most underrated players in the entire league, he's an injury magnet, unfortunately. Matt Milano just, unfortunately, it's so unfortunate because this team is so much better with him on the field. But as we know by now, man, he just can't stay healthy. He has a real tough time staying healthy. He gets injured very frequently. And then with Tremaine Edmunds, we just don't know the future surrounding that at all. We really don't. The jury's out on Tremaine Edmunds. The jury's out on what the Bills are going to do with him moving forward after this coming season. So there's questions at linebacker for sure. And I think that this is why this pick was made. 1, for depth. 2, for the potential of the future. We know that Brandon Beane and the Buffalo Bills, they love their project guys. They love the guys that they look at and see an insane ceiling on. Josh Allen, right? I mean, they love the guys that come off as the freak athlete, the guy who could, you know, really be a stud if he's shaped and molded the correct way. And this is kind of how I see Terrell Bernard. He's a project pick. I mean, I'm not expecting Terrell Bernard to come into this team really at all this year and be a major impact. Maybe he rotates in. He'll probably be a special teams guy for sure at some point or another, perhaps right off the bat. But when it comes to the rotation on the defensive side of the ball and linebacker, as far as linebacker is concerned, I'm not expecting Terrell Bernard to be somebody that really stands out this coming season. What I look at this pick as a future pick, a project pick, a plan for the future, right? And I'm cool with that because when you looked at the first 2 rounds, the Bills got guys that are ready to go now, right? Kaiir Elam, he's going to be the starter day one. James Cook, if he's not the starter day one, will at least be rotating in right off the bat. Round 3, the Bills decided to go future, and that's fine. We know based on what Brandon Beane has done this offseason that the chips are all in the middle of the table towards the run at the Super Bowl within this window, right? But you also have to consider where your team's going to be a few years from now. And this is what this pick represents to me. Some of the words to describe Bernard based on what I've seen, I saw the best phrase I saw to describe him: fast flow linebacker, 4.59 40-yard dash. And a lot of people on him, when it comes to him, are talking about how good he is instinctively. He's just really somebody who has a high football IQ, really gets the game, and is able to go all over the field and really take advantage of his surroundings. He's also a problem when it comes to blitzing. I mean, he is a nightmare for any offense, or at least he was in Baylor, rather. 16 and a half career sacks during his college career. That was good enough for number 3 all time in school history. He also racked up a ton of college accolades. He was second team All Big 12 twice. And then his last year here, he was first team All Big 12. Team captain. He was the Sugar Bowl MVP just a season ago. And he led the team in tackles 2 of the last 3 seasons with 100 tackles in each season. So, yeah, I understand there's some questions surrounding it. It's definitely a project pick. It's definitely a future pick for sure. But you look at what he's accomplished in college thus far, and there's definitely potential there. There's definitely a lot to be excited about. The one concern is he himself, as I know I was talking about Milano earlier, and his injury struggles. Terrell Bernard has definitely struggled with injuries for sure. At Baylor, he had his fair share of injuries, so that definitely is a sign of concern. But clearly he showed the Bills enough to take a chance on him at round 3, and like I said, that's definitely not something that I could foresee being a major factor this coming season. But right here, as the Mafia is coming in and saying, the Bernard could be a stud if they can mold him. Bingo. And I think Beane, we know this by now. They like the guys that they see a massive potential with, that they can shape and mold and, really create something special out of. So that's kind of how I see that 3rd round pick there for the Bills. And I understand the questioning surrounding it, but I think at that point, Brandon Beane sat back and said, all right, as far as right now is concerned, we have knocked out of the park basically every area that needed addressment. Let's take a crack at a guy that we think could be a major player for this team a few years down the line. That's exactly what they did. Another area that and this is why I love this draft so much, really, because it felt like everything that needed to be addressed, even if it wasn't a major focal point, it still got addressed. I really wanted to add a wide receiver in this draft, and I wasn't opposed to even doing so in round 1. I thought it would be a little bit risky. Thought it was a bit, I thought it would be a bit of an overplay, but I also kind of like the idea of it. This. But I'm glad in hindsight, like I keep saying, I'm so glad they went cornerback in round 1 because it just made the most sense. It was the logical pick, but I still wanted to see what was Beane going to do to address the wide receiver room, because as you know, it just, you cannot have enough weapons in this league. And when you have a quarterback like Josh Allen, it's not a problem adding to the wide receiver locker room. I promise it'll only pay off. There's no way that could wind up being a problem. And as I've said time and time again, the more weapons that they give Josh Allen, the better he has played every single time. And they go out and they get Khalil Shakir, wide receiver, Boise State, a Mountain West boy, just like Josh Allen, as I mentioned earlier. And they grabbed Shakir in round 5. Obviously, the Bills did not have a round 4 pick because of the trade with the Ravens to get Elam in the first round. So taking a little bit of a look here at Shakir, and a lot of people are loving this pick, like the experts, the people who grade and stuff. I've been seeing a lot of A's, a lot of, B+ to A+ even when it comes to this Bills 5th round pick. Here's a little bit of a tidbit I found on Syracuse.com when it comes to talking about Khalil Shakir. Syracuse.com had said, quote, "This could end up being one of those picks experts look back at as a steal of the draft." I loved that little tidbit that Syracuse.com put in there. And if we go back to what I had mentioned that Mel Kiper had said, that's essentially in just different words what he had said. Like I had mentioned at the top of the show, Mel Kiper had said in a roundabout way the exact same thing. He said, all in all, the Bills filled their biggest needs with their top 2 picks. And if Shakir or Benford do break out, this class could be one of the best when we recreate it in 5 years. I mean, that is a hell of a statement. And it's not just one guy saying it. I'm seeing this all over the place. And a lot of you in here I can see right now are in agreement. Gabe Davis. Need I say more? I mean, Gabe Davis, a 4th round guy. And when the Bills took Gabe Davis, did you know who he was? No, you didn't. There's no freaking way you did. And if you did, then you are just a major college guy who knows every player under the sun. And I know there's some of you out there, so I don't mean to disrespect you if you know him. I'm sure there's a handful of you for sure. But what I'm getting at, of course, is Gabe Davis wasn't Gabe Davis until he became Gabe Davis. And that could be the situation that we see here with Khalil Shakir. And not only that, but you come into a locker room now where you have a young but uprising guy, of course, in Gabe Davis. You have a veteran leader in Stephon Diggs. You have a veteran in Jamison Crowder. You have just a solid, an unbelievably solid foundation. And that is such a crucial factor when it comes to any draft pick. These guys are only going to be as good as the organization they were drafted to, like 9 out of 10 times, right? That is key. I mean, even when the Bills were down, they weren't nearly what they are now, of course, going into the draft when they took Josh Allen, but they were still in the right place, right? They had just ended the drought and they were really, in the middle of the building process, and it was clear that things were going in the right direction, right? You can't say that for the majority of these teams drafting up toward the top of the draft. The Bills right now, wide receiver is a perfect example. How could you not thrive in this environment just based on what you're surrounded by, right? I mean, that's a huge factor. You bring this guy into the Bills locker room, he's immediately going to get better just based on who he's surrounded with. Silas, brother, you are in fuego tonight. He's saying, I think Bernard plays in packages this year. Not having press man cornerbacks on the outside hurt our ability to blitz. We essentially fixed that with Elam. We're bringing heat because quarterback play in AFC is A1. Yeah, no kidding. We know that by now. Good Lord, A1 is an understatement for sure. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked. Like I said, I wouldn't be shocked at all if Bernard rotates in. I don't imagine we see as much of him as we will the starters we're used to, right? But there's definitely potential to rotate him in there. What he brings to the table in regard to the blitz game, like you're talking about, could be a game changer, right? And I'm interested to see what Leslie Frazier winds up looking into and winds up doing with a young guy like that who could bring, an upgrade to that style of play. That would be interesting. Really, really would be interesting. And we'll find out. We'll find out shortly here what the game plan is with him. But back to Shakir. Yeah, I love it because, like I said earlier, there's so many wide receivers now coming out of college that are so damn good that, yes, of course, the cream of the crop is always going to rise to the top, and those guys are gone right off the bat in round 1, obviously. But there's so many of these guys that you get into the 2nd, 3rd, 4th round, there's still a wealth of talent at wide receiver. And the Bills took their time. They addressed other areas that they felt were, of major points of emphasis, clearly. And then they go and get the luxury pick. Adding to the wide receiver room was a luxury, right? And that's kind of how I view this pick. And based on what everybody's saying, just based on the view of Khalil Shakir, it's exciting. Right? I mean, I didn't know much about Khalil Shakir before the draft, but the more I read into it, I haven't seen any outlets say anything other than, well, this was a hell of a steal for the Bills. And I think, like I just, kind of talked about a bit, it means a lot that he's going to Buffalo and not somewhere else. And that's a big factor here. Obviously, a guy like Shakir is going to have a better chance to succeed in Buffalo than he would in, New England or Miami, whatever. I mean, you got a guy like Josh Allen, you got that offense in place, and you add that with the surrounding pieces that they have on offense, and well, there you go. I keep seeing the name Ross being popped up in here with the Chiefs. Am I missing something here? Is that news or let's see here? Let's see. Kansas City Chiefs signed. Was that 4 weeks ago? I don't know. Let me know if I'm missing something. Oh, here we go. Undrafted former first-round wide receiver prospect. Oh, wow. Okay. Justin Ross. By the way, yeah, Chiefs. Okay. Wow. Former first-round draft grade. Okay. Interesting. Chiefs had a hell of a draft. And I'll tell you what, I would have loved to have seen what happened in round 2 if Sky Moore was still on the table. It felt like the Bills really might go in that direction. Didn't that kind of feel like that? And I think that's why the Chiefs traded up to get him. I personally think the Chiefs traded up for Sky Moore to jump the Bills. I'm in firm belief of that. I really think that. Because I had a gut feeling that was going to be the pick for the Bills. Sky Moore. Chiefs had a great draft. Can't knock it at all. But yeah, so Khalil Shakir, excited to see what he could wind up being. As we know, 4th round wide receivers, they could really, really be a game changer, as we know. All right, gonna cover one more player. Don't have time to go through everything tonight, but I would be remiss, just utterly remiss, if I didn't talk about the mother effing punt god. Punt God is a Buffalo Bill, and I'm so freaking stoked, baby. As you know, there is no bigger punt God fan on earth than your boy Bot. And yeah, I mean, half of it was like a joke, of course. Or was it? I'll leave that up for interpretation. But we knew we needed a punter. I think it was fun to joke about Punt God because, well, he's called Punt God. I mean, who doesn't love just saying the words Punt God? It's fun as hell to say. But jokes aside, yeah, no, there was no joke when it comes to the punting game for this Bills team. Matt Hawk, not it. Not it. And the Bills needed a new punter. And it's not often you see punters get taken in the draft at all. But when there was a couple of punters actually who wound up getting taken in this draft. I'm so glad the Bills, not only just because it's Punt God and he's going to be an instant hit with Bills Mafia, no question about it. And like I said on the live stream for the draft, you're going to see more punter jerseys in the stands than you'll see anywhere else in the league. But outside of all the fun stuff I think he brings to the fan base, we got a new punter and we needed a new punter. This is a major upgrade for the Bills. For God's sake, the guy can kick it 80 yards. Insane. And this is an underrated element, I think, of this Bills team right now. If you get down to the nitty gritty here, Tyler Bass, let's not kid ourselves. No joke about it, man. No joke at all. He's one of the best kickers in the league, right? Tyler Bass. If Punt God winds up being Punt God, not only are you revolutionarily elite in the offensive side of things, not only do you have the number 1 defense in the league, you could also be looking at potentially the best kicking game in the league. Let's not pretend like that doesn't matter. If Punt God comes in and winds up being the wow, man, thank God, like we got our punter now. This is a game changer. He's pinning guys in the coffin corner. He's punting this thing the length of a football field. That's a game changer, man. That is an utter game changer. And I'm just happy at the fact that it is Punt God and not another punter, because that's just the best of both worlds. It's like having your cake and eating it too. But the Bills needed a punter desperately, 100%. Everybody knew when the season ended that Matt Hawk had to go. And here we go. New punter. And it is Punt God. And I love that. And it's just another element, I think, to this draft, as I keep touching on, that this is why I love this draft. You pair together the offseason and the draft, and what was there a stone left unturned by Brandon Beane? Seriously, was there? No. Like, really? No. Every position got upgraded or touched upon, right down to the punter. Case closed. Storybook offseason for Brandon Beane. And I thought the feather in the cap would be how he did in the draft, and I think it was a great draft. I think it was a great draft. I haven't seen a draft grade for the Bills lower than like a B+, B maybe. I haven't. And you know what they had to work with too? Higher up picks, varying degrees of need. I just think that Brandon Beane really did a hell of a job. I'll reiterate. Is there a stone left unturned today for the Bills heading into the season? I don't think so. We knew we went into the offseason. We knew we needed edge pressure. Got it. We knew we needed to supply the defensive and offensive line. Done. We knew we needed to upgrade the running back situation. Done in the draft. We knew we needed to add talent at the tight end position. Done. We knew we needed to add wide receiver depth. Done. We knew we needed a corner. Done. I mean, I could go on all night. Every spot that needed to be addressed, added to, upgraded, fixed, you name it, it was done by Brandon Beane. And right now, I want you to, if you're by yourself, if you're with people, I don't care. I want you to just sit back and give Brandon Beane a round of applause. I know it's weird. I'm in a room right now by myself. I'm sure you probably are too. Just give Brandon Beane a round of applause because holy crap. Just hats off. Tip of the cap. This was a hell of an offseason to be a Bills fan. I mean, it was so fun. The cool thing is, too, is like, it was so crazy, the offseason in general for all the other teams. And the Bills, like, they didn't miss out on that. We got heavily involved with that, too. We got heavily involved in the craziness that was the 2022 NFL offseason. I mean, 20 years from now, 100 years from now, I don't care, whatever, however long. This offseason is going to go down in history books. This offseason is going to go down as one of the craziest, most insane, memorable off seasons in the history of the sport. And the Bills were a major player in that. They're a major part of that. And right now, folks, this team, I don't think it's constructed any better than it could possibly be to make a Super Bowl run. Really. I mean, you could get nitpicky. You could, if you want to find a problem with anything, you're going to find it. If you want to find a problem with something, you can find it 100%. I could sit here right now and think of a million things that are great and I can find a problem with them, right? So of course, yeah, you could find a problem right now. You certainly could. But you look around this league right now and I'd like you to tell me who's in a better position to make a Super Bowl run and win a Super Bowl than the Buffalo Bills. And I get it. Yeah, there's a handful of teams who are primed up, ready to roll, but none really more than the Bills, honestly. I'm going to save my power ranking. I know I said I was going to do that tonight, but we're already almost 2 hours in, and I got to get to work. And it's something I want to spend some time on because I like doing the power rankings after the draft now that we have all of our pieces set up, around the league. But I was thinking to myself earlier as I was kind of just, pondering as to how I would rank the top 10. And I really try to set my homerism aside, my fandom aside. I'm not being a homer here. I'm not being an irrational fan. Are the Bills not the best team in the league right now? And if they're not, and I understand it's subjective. Please argue that they're outside of the top 4. Please, I would just love to hear that idiocy. I would love to hear it. You would sound like an absolute moron trying to argue the Bills outside of the top 4, probably even the top 3, but whatever. I'll say 4 because I like even numbers. Seriously. That's not being a homer. I hate that too. Because when you're a Bills fan, of course you think they're the best fan in the league or best team in the league. You're a fan. Sure, yeah, I get it. They're also the best team in the league. Or if not, like one of the top 3. Give me a break. Like, do you watch the sport? Because believe me, I watch the sport and I watch the Bills. I know what a bad Bills team looks like. Believe me, it's all I watched for 20 years. This ain't it. This is a Super Bowl team, and it was handcrafted. Like a Subway sandwich employee, and you're in front of the glass case, and they're behind there, and you're Bean, and you're just like, I'll take a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a sprinkle of this, a little extra of that, a little bit of this, pull it all together, throw it in the toaster oven, and boom. Mwah. Except this particular sandwich is a hell of a lot better than a Subway sandwich. And no disrespect to Subway, but kind of a little bit disrespect to Subway, because Brandon Beane, if this team was a sandwich, it would not be a Subway sandwich. It would be like a Cat's Deli sandwich. Oh, I shouldn't even have said that. Now I'm thinking about Cat's Deli. You ever been to Cat's Deli? Anybody in here? New York, Cat's Deli? I've been to Cat's Deli like a million times. This is so off topic, but we're talking about Cat's Deli. Cat's Deli, you want to know how good Cat's Deli is? Okay. And this is why I'm saying that Brandon Beane and the Buffalo Bills, they're the Cat's Deli sandwich of the NFL. If Brandon Beane and the Buffalo Bills were a sandwich, they'd be a Cat's Deli sandwich. You want to know why? Every single time I've been to Cat's Deli, I have had to wait over an hour, sometimes 2 hours, outside 4 blocks down the road to get a goddamn sandwich. What does that mean? That sandwich is probably pretty good. Just a thought. And if you go inside a Cat's Deli, what are you going to see on the wall? Oh, just every celebrity and famous person to ever live, ever in the history of the world, on the wall, inside a Cat's Deli with the owner. So, yeah, Cat's Deli, pretty good. Brandon Beane, Buffalo Bills, pretty good. Jahobi coming in here saying Wegman sub can't lose. I can't deny that, man. I got to tell you, Wegman subs, dumb good. So good. I love it. Still no Cat's Deli, though. But, nothing is. Also, by the way, Cat's Deli, pastrami sandwich will run you about $75. You're not getting out of there without refinancing your home. But it's worth every damn cent. Faux show. All right, I'm going to save some of my other stuff for next week because we got plenty of time until the season and whatever else, and there's still more draft talk we're going to get into. So I'll table that for next week. But what you can expect from me next week is this. I'll get into a variety of different stuff from the season. Is Rev hopping on? I just got a click in my speakers. I look out, my man Rev is in the back. He's in the green screen now. Well, I was gonna hop off, but forget it. I'm staying on. My man Rev is.
What's good, baby?
I'm not going anywhere. What is that?
What's that?
Wow, I'm 2 hours in and screw it. I whatever. I got work. I'll table it. You're here now.
Yo, man. Hey, I just wanted to pop on here, man, and just say, yo,
let's run it for a minute.
Fantastic job, baby.
Oh, thank you, brother. You're the man. I'm guessing. I know Rev said he came home, was a little bit chaotic. He was supposed to join me earlier. Things died down. Things are good.
Yeah. Things. I just got back home, so
nice.
Things died down. I was doing my best to watch you, man, on my phone.
Oh,
man.
you're the man.
I was like, yo, let me pop in real quick.
Yeah, I know. I saw you in the chat. I saw you in the chat. Well, I got you here, Rev. So, I mean, I got to hear from you. I got to hear your thoughts. I was talking earlier about, a variety of different things, mainly the top 4 picks for the Bills, obviously. Won't get into all of it right now just for time's sake, but I really want to get your thoughts on what I think was the most, crucial part of the entire draft. Yeah. Round 1 and round 2. Just kind of talk to me about your overall thoughts. Taking Kaiir Elam in round 1, James Cook in round 2. I know obviously you were a big fan of Breece Hall, who I've spent plenty of time talking about today, and I know a lot of other people were. But we get James Cook. We go corner in round 1. Now that you've had some time to reflect, look back on it, it's said and done. Your overall thoughts on the Bills' top 2 picks in the draft this past weekend?
Yeah. So overall, I had a Rico talks about being in your feelings, and so I had it after the draft. I had to kind of get out of my feelings a little bit. Matter of fact, I was kind of there, and as day 2 approached. And I really was understanding Brandon Beane. That's why I had to throw on the M Beane We Trust shirt, because it was a personal reminder for me, right? I love what you said earlier. You're talking about, like you're an armchair GM. I'm an armchair GM. We don't know dilly squat about what's going on, right?
Yeah, of course.
And so at the end of the day, man, in Beane We Trust. And so, yeah, I had my draft crush, my love for Breece Hall, but I trust Brandon Beane. He has not failed any of us yet. And so as I'm looking at it, I understand what he did. It makes perfect sense. Yes, the biggest hole that we had on our team was at defensive back, cornerback, opposite of Trey White, and we needed somebody that we can rely on. Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott both said they were trying to add speed all off season. We saw what happened with Tyreek Hill in the playoffs. No need to rehearse that or to rehash it, right? You know what I'm saying? So we needed to add speed. Why not get a guy like Kaiir Elam, who, by the way, played in the best conference in college football.
It's a good point.
You know what I'm saying? And so, and then he
That's
runs
a really good point, actually.
right?
Yeah.
Runs sub 4, 6'2" guy, 200 pounds. So he's a physical guy. He plays that press man coverage. And so you're also starting to see a little bit of a transition defensively with Leslie Frazier and how he wants to defend guys on the boundary. We saw a little bit of that last year. So it makes sense. I mean, get Kyrie Elam. I mean, he fell a little bit within striking distance. So I've warmed up to the pick. I'm not downing it at all. I think Kyrie is going to be a great asset to this team. Watching the video, I think he just fits the DNA, right? I mean, who brings
that's where I'm at with it. 100%.
Who brings a notebook full of notes, in your interview? And
well, that's what I was saying earlier, because I think you'd agree with me on this. By now, this culture has become so identifiable. You can tell it literally takes you half a second to tell if somebody's going to fit or not, right?
Hands down. And so when I saw that behind the scenes, I was like, okay, well, it makes perfect sense, right? This guy he's bleeding, processed juice, right? You know what I'm saying? This is like coming out of his pores. And so I love that pick. And then thinking about, all right, well, round 2, we got a running back. I said it during the broadcast, during the draft. I was like, you know what? After thinking about it, Brandon Beane tipped his hand in free agency when he went after J.D. McKissick. What type of back is it? He's a wide receiver, he's a receiving back. And then so we didn't get him. Got Duke Johnson, who does the same thing, but not on the level of McKissick. So you see that Brandon Beane was looking for something. It was a trait that he wanted to get. Well, why not get the best guy in the draft, right? Because James Cook arguably is one of the, if not the best receiving back in the entire draft class, but he's also a good runner. I mean, he has good size, he has good pedigree. His family's played in the league, and so it makes sense, right? It makes perfect sense. And then you add that type of a weapon to the already packed stable of weaponry that Josh Allen has. It makes the team more deadly. It makes him more unstoppable, with a guy who can come out of the backfield running a 4.3 40, who can run routes like a wide receiver. I mean, it brings me to mind of like a guy like James White in New England, who we saw Brady constantly using, right, to kill us, left, right, and center, like Rico says, all the time. So I like that addition to the offense. And plus, I mean, go on to Killer Shakir, who I think is like Robert Woods 2.0. Anyway, man,
the praise he's getting is making me super stoked, because I admittedly didn't know enough about him to make a judgment myself. But everybody, I mean, the general consensus that I keep seeing is steal. I mean, that's what everybody's saying.
Yeah, 100%. And then so when I look at him too, I'm like, man, it was clear we needed a wide receiver.
Yep.
But to get him when we got him, and looking at what he brings to the table, oh my gosh, I love it. I absolutely love it, 100%.
This makes me so excited here, and this is what I've continuously said this throughout the show, but just the overall thought, Rev, of the fact that if Kyrie Elam comes in and is, he is resemblant of the skill set that Tre'Davious White has, pairing that with the new look defense this Bills have, and not to mention the already lockdown secondary they already have, or the tandem they have in Hyde and Poyer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Rev, your overall thoughts just on what the potential could be for this Bills defense, a defense that we've already seen be terrific. I mean, as of right now, last year, and I said this earlier, I know, but it bears saying again, it's worth saying again. The Bills, yes, they were the best offense in the league on paper last year, but I think we all knew that they didn't feel like the best offense, or the defense rather.
Defense, yeah.
Nonetheless, though, right, number one overall statistically, this defense got a hell of a lot better this coming season. Your thoughts on what this could wind up meaning for the future of this Bills defense?
Yeah, I mean, I can't deny it, right? I mean, you can't deny it. I mean, I was saying, well, no, you can find a guy in, mid rounds or whatever that you can kind of add in as a developmental guy, because when you look at it, we've gotten by with a Levi Wallace undrafted, and then Dane Jackson, et cetera. But when you can add a guy like Kyrie Elam, again, I'm thinking about it, it makes sense. A first-round guy. We haven't had that type of an investment at the cornerback position opposite of Trey since Trey was drafted. We've all been clamoring for it. We've all wanted it. Like, Beane, when are you going to draft a corner or make a high investment in a corner opposite Trey? Trey already shuts down half the field. All-pro corner shuts down half the field. You get a guy like this who's bigger than Trey, faster than Trey, has press man skills that Trey doesn't necessarily have, right? and he put him in this defense and allow him to grow and to develop. My gosh, I mean, you talk about the no-fly zone. I mean, this is going to be it in the secondary. I can't wait for it. It's going to be lethal. I love what the Life of John said. Do we not understand how lethal? It's going to be extremely lethal. Shut him down, and then you think about it also because we talk about like the pass rush and then how it kind of helps the back end. Well, the back end helps the front end. It all works together, right? So when you have a shutdown secondary, you add 2 lockdown corners potentially, plus you have Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer. Hopefully Poyer comes back, right? You get those guys. I mean, what is that going to do for the entire defense? Pass rush is going to get there, right? Because they can't throw the ball. So, I mean, I'm excited to see what it's going to do to this defense, who's already number 1 in the league.
And on top of that, one thing I haven't mentioned, and I'm kind of just thinking about it now, but, the rotational corners the Bills have had over the last couple of years, no, they're no Pro Bowlers, they're no All Pros, whatever. But we had talked about this, Rev, how good the Bills defense was without Tre'Davious White, and that's with rotational corners. Now you're getting like that investment, like you just said. The sky's the limit, man. The more we talk about it, the more excited I get.
Yeah, man, sky is definitely the limit. I'm trying to imagine what Sean McDermott and Leslie Frazier and the rest of the defensive staff are just thinking. That they got to be like this chomping at the bits, trying to figure out what they can do with this guy and how versatile they can be. And plus, Teron Johnson, we haven't talked about him enough too. So I mean, you add him in look, it's going to be phenomenal. My man Silas.
Silas is just absolutely on a tear tonight. It's incredible. Adding a cornerback like Elam with Vaughn on the D line means tons of turnovers. It's going to be scary hours for the rest of the NFL. Sign me up, Silas. Yep. And like I said earlier, right down to the punter, Rev. I mean, every unit on this team right now is arguably one of the best in the league, top to bottom, all the way down to the punter.
Yeah. I mean, you really can't poke holes at any position. I mean, really. I mean, and this is like taking off the Homer glasses, right?
I know, and that's tough to make it seem like, but it's true. It's true.
It's true. D line. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, you add a guy like Von Miller, right? And then you have I think as a whole, right? Maybe not necessarily player for player, but when you look at the entirety of the D line and then you got a guy like Tremaine Edmonds and Matt Milano, and then you go back to the secondary with Trey White, adding a guy like Elam, and then you have 2 All-Pro safeties behind them. You really can't poke holes at this defense that was already ranked number 1 for the entirety of last year. So it looks very, very dangerous. And I know teams around the league, especially in the AFC, are looking at, man, what are we going to do in this defense? How are we going to put up points against this defense? I know some people are talking about, well, Tyreek Hill and this and that. Look, they got Tua. Okay. I'm not scared of Tua. You know what I'm saying? Pat Mahomes. Yeah, they've got some weapons too. But look, I think that this is going to be a phenomenal opportunity for us, and this is our window that we've been waiting for to capitalize on, and we've gotten a whole lot better after this draft. Brandon Beane, salute to Brandon Beane, man. This is one of the greatest GMs in the NFL.
I try to get everybody earlier to give them a standing ovation inside their home by themselves, and I hope that
man, you guys better do it, man.
Do it again right now. Just another clap for Brandon Beane. Another clap.
Yes. Let's do a Sean McDermott clap, man, for Brandon Beane.
That too. Like 100 claps in a minute.
There you go.
I love that. The season can't come soon enough for sure.
Man.
Before I wrap things up, Rev, I want to get some clarification from you before we leave, because I know a lot of people have been kind of on our ass about getting a little emotional about the Breece Hall situation. Yeah. I explained my side of things earlier, but I tried to tell everybody earlier, there was a lot of almost getting to the point of certainty surrounding Breece Hall when it came to the Bills. And I know you guys, you and Rico loved him. I know a lot of people are like, the emotions, whatever. Just kind of walk me through where you were there and kind of why it was so upsetting for you to see Breece Hall kind of slip through the cracks.
Well, okay. So I've been clamoring for a running back like Breece Hall for a long time that you can draft in round 1. Okay. First, let's not make any bones about it. Breece Hall is a phenomenal prospect. Okay, he is. He look. I like the idea of James Cook, but James Cook right now he is not Breece Hall. Otherwise, he would have been drafted in the first round or higher second round. Okay, so I mean, let's just put that to bed. Breece Hall is a great prospect. Look at his RAS scores. You compare him. I can't remember. I think it was Next Gen Stats. They said his score, his athletic score overall, out of like the past 4 or 5 years, he's top 4 ranked alongside Jonathan Taylor and Saquon Barkley and some others. Yeah. So he's a great guy. But what got me was the fact that that they traded up for him in the early parts of the second round, but then he went to the Jets.
Yeah, see, that's exactly how I felt.
It's the Jets, and I'm sitting here thinking like, look, man, we've been trying to tell you guys, look, what difference is it from 25 to 36? The trend that I'm starting to see now is if you want an elite type of prospect, running back prospect, you're gonna have to get him early round 2 at the earliest, right? I mean, at the latest. You can't wait around, and so I'm like, we're at 25. What's really the difference if that's the kind of guy you're looking for from 25 to 36? But nevertheless, we didn't do it. But you look at the Jets of all teams. He could have went to the NFC. I'd have been all right. He could have went to somewhere else. I'd be all right. When we didn't get him in round 1, I did not expect us to get him. I knew he wasn't going to fall to 57, and I knew Brandon Beane was not going to trade the assets it would take to get up to the early parts of round 2 to get him. So I was already expecting us not to get him. But when the Jets got him, of all people, and traded up for him, that's what kind of, I just blew my top there for a second. I was already emotional about it. And then to see that happen, that's when when Rev just kind of lost it a little bit.
Literally,
but now I'm fine.
Exactly.
I'm a lot better now.
He's better now. Everybody's going to be better eventually. People are worried about Rico, seriously, because I don't think anybody's seen him outside in a while. But that just kind of goes to show you, I think, I think the main issue there, Rev, was the fact that as the draft got closer, it just seemed like more and more of a possibility. And I think people were really starting to think it was going to happen. But hey, it did happen. It just wasn't Breece Hall. But the running back, let's be real here. Beane couldn't have done. I mean, there could have been a scenario where he didn't do that at all. I mean, that definitely could have been on the table, right? So, James Cook, I'm excited, man. I am excited to see what he brings to the table.
Man. And at the end of the day, man, look, I'm rooting for these guys, right? I mean, we're Buffalo Bills fans, so I want everybody to succeed. That's all it is. And so I want James Cook to succeed. I think he can. I love what he brings to the table, and him paired with Mo, I think it's going to be dynamic.
I absolutely love it. What do you got going on this week? Anything that the folks need to hear about next week? What's the plan with you?
Yeah. Next week, I don't know, man. I mean, we'll see what happens next week. I do plan on being on. I know I've been out a couple of weeks, the Rated Rev show, but I've been making some kind of guest appearances. So I mean, you guys stay tuned.
We were making the rounds. Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean,
shout out to Rev, by the way, while I got him here. Unbelievable draft analysis and coverage all throughout the last couple of months and over the weekend here. And you were the whole thing, man. The boys were on it this weekend. That was like 15 some hours.
15 hours, man. Yeah.
And everybody in here who, once again, I said at the top of the show, but again right now, thanks so much for being part of it. The response was incredible.
Oh yeah.
You mean this genuinely. It's some of the most fun we have. I mean, Rev, I was scrolling through the other night.
Yeah.
That one clip, you and I were laughing, I swear to God, for 10 straight minutes over that smell the mic clip. That was I'm actually clipping it up right now because I'm not kidding you. There's like 10 straight minutes of us just laughing. So I'm going to post it on Twitter. Yeah.
It was just so random, man. I was like, where did this come from?
Every week, I swear to God, one of you guys, I don't care who it is, what it is, there's always something that is so out of left field that gets me every time.
Man,
so
yeah. Oh man, that was hilarious, dude. I couldn't get enough of that. And then watching Rico, and then watching Pierre clip that up, man. With me struggling with my bottle. Look.
I didn't even notice that until he did. It was great.
Let me set the record straight, okay? I gotta set the record straight because some people were coming for me in the comments. I'm like, look, I didn't need an opener. I already had an opener. I was trying to put the cork back in the bottle, and I was struggling getting it back in there. You know what I'm saying with the wine bottles. Whatever.
I hear you. I hear you.
Yeah, and so I left the opener in there because for later usage. So I just wanted to keep it in there for I could just pop it right back out, right? So, but just getting it in there, man, I was struggling, and I didn't think anybody was gonna see it. But leave it to Pierre.
That's how it always goes.
Kind of stuff.
I know.
Leave it to Pierre, man.
He finds everything. What was it the other day I spilled? Me and Rico were on a show. I spilled coffee on myself, and he was on it instantly. Before the show even ended, it was on Twitter when I got off. So crazy. All right, 2 hours in the books. I wish we could go longer. I got to get to work. But so I know I had some stuff on the table for tonight I wanted to get to, but man, we were rocking and rolling tonight, and time got the best of us. But for next week, Monday night, just to give you a synopsis of what I want to tackle next week, going to be doing draft winners and losers, Plenty of both. Going to give you who I felt really dominated the draft, who I thought took an L. And then next week, like I said earlier, I wanted to spend some time on this, which is why I didn't do it tonight. I want to give you my post-draft power rankings, let you know who I think, going into the season, who are the top 10 teams, and hint, 3/4 of it, if not more, is going to be the AFC. And you want to know what's crazy about that, Rev, is even after this draft, the AFC, it felt like they were the teams who ultimately got the most improved,
better.
Honestly. You know what I mean?
Yeah, easily, yeah. Easily,
and
you look at the Ravens, et cetera, too, man.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I want to pose this question for you. This is how we'll sign off here. I tweeted this earlier, and it really hit me yesterday. I think is when I tweeted it. Maybe it was earlier this afternoon. I can't keep track of time anymore, Rev. But I was thinking about the draft and how good of a draft the Jets had. And I was thinking to myself about, how much Miami really did a good job this offseason of at least trying to attack their weaknesses and get better and improve. And then it hit me. The Patriots did none of that. Here's my question to you, Rev. This to me is a fair question at this point.
Yeah. All right.
At least on paper, I understand that the Jets are the Jets, the Dolphins are the Dolphins. On paper, Rev, going into the 2022 season, is there an argument to be made that the New England Patriots are the worst team in the AFC East?
Hands down. Yeah, without a doubt. They did absolutely nothing in free agency. They made some questionable moves, like getting rid of their guard, starting guard for a 5th round pick, only to spend a 1st round pick on a guy who was projected to go in round 3 or round 4. Crazy.
And the draft, if you look at I know, and if you look at the grades, there isn't a single grading out there that doesn't have the Patriots in the bottom 3. Every single one.
Yeah, easily. I don't know what. See this. I mean, hey. This is the Patriot way, right? Now we're starting to see the Patriot way.
That's what other fans are saying to me, by the way. I've been posting videos. Oh, yeah, knock Bill Belichick, the 6-time or the 7-time Super Bowl champion. Yeah. Brady's not in New England anymore, folks. Can you come around to that? It's not the same.
You can get the Patriot way. You see the word Patriot, scratch a line through that and put Brady. Because it was the Brady way for 20 years. That's it. We're starting to see it now that Brady's gone. It was the Brady way, hands down. He covered a multitude of sins of that team. Now Bill Belichick is here trying to run the team. He doesn't know what he's doing in that regard. But I'm all for it. I think.
Oh my God!
Now,
sign me the hell up. Are you kidding me?
I love every second of it, and I'm like one of the biggest trolls right now. And I want to see them fail.
Oh my God!
And I would love nothing more than to see them be the last place team in the AFC East. I would love it.
You want to know what I hate? Is the inability to understand that they're no longer the Brady ran Patriots. Is it that hard to realize as a fan? Listen, I know what the Bills were when I was younger. They weren't good. It was obvious. I got people up in my comments about the Patriots telling me, "Oh yeah, we'll get the last laugh when Strange is a Pro Bowl." I'm like, dude, I don't care if he's a Pro Bowler. He was a third, fourth round grade. You took him in the 1st round. You could have gotten somebody else and easily got him in the 2nd. It's not about whether he's a Pro Bowler or not. It's about value.
About value.
Overreached. Point blank. Whatever.
Everybody,
man, I love it. Right?
Everybody in the entire NFL,
it's so nice to see,
Yeah, man. I had to try to peek on here, man, pop on real quick and just show some love to my man. But let me say this: all you fanatics right now, look, ring the bell, bing, bing, biggity, bing.
Oh, light it up, baby, will you?
Man. Do it for my man, Zach Z-Bot, man. Look, this guy is great. I don't know what you guys are doing. This dude is the man. I love me some Bot. Smoke break. If you guys love him, show him some love in the comments, man. Drop the mics, drop the fire, drop the smoke emoji, all that kind of stuff.
Ooh, I love that.
Bro, love you.
Is there a better guy out here than Rev? And by the way, I love you, but I'm about this because I'm devastated. Our boy Smoke Monday ain't gonna be a Bell.
Oh, dude, you know what? I was waiting.
You
for
saw that, didn't you?
I was like, come on, man. He had to come. It just only made sense, right?
I mean, that's a once in a lifetime opportunity right there. By the way, you know what I mean?
Hopefully, I mean, what is he like? Was he undrafted?
I have no idea. Honestly, I didn't really even give it in consideration until you said something. Then I remembered I saw it earlier, and I'm like, I don't even think I put 2 and 2 together. How freaking cool that would have been. But
maybe I think he was undrafted. Maybe he gets released and we pick him up in the offseason.
Hey, listen, I talked Punt God into existence. I'll talk Smoke Monday.
We need to
do it.
We need to do it, man, right now. Smoke Monday on the smoke break. That's awesome.
I love it. 2 and change in the books. My man Rev joined me for the tail end of it, and I appreciate him hopping on. You can catch Rev next week. I'm sure he'll be back with his show. I'll be back as well next Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, Buffalo Fanatics YouTube channel. Like I said, next Monday night, you can expect to see me talk about my winners and losers of the draft, and we'll be breaking down the top 10 NFL teams in the league post-draft, and I'm looking forward to tackling all of that with you, plus much more. Who knows what unfolds the rest of the weekend, but for Z-Bot, Rev, anything else for the folks before we sign off?
No, man, I'm good. Look. Hey, I appreciate all the Fanatics for just rocking with us over the past 3 days. You guys are the best. This is what we do it for. We love you guys so much. Enjoy the draft. Enjoy Brandon Beane, all of that kind of stuff. Look, it's okay, Mafia. We're a great team, a great organization.
Positivity
Let's get into it.
Positivity
Absolutely.
and potential is how I look at this draft. Best way to look at it.
Hands down.
And like Rev just said, I know I've said it a few times already, but I want to say it again just to make sure it is heard. Thank you so much for the incredible support throughout the weekend. We had an overwhelming amount of support for our draft streams. So glad you guys tuned in. So glad you guys loved it. And it was our pleasure to spend it with you.
Yes.
Thanks so much again. We'll see you next week, Monday night, 8 p.m., same place. Until then, enjoy the rest of the week. And as always,
God bless and go Bills.
Go Bills.